We did. And then I think Ardella wanted to investigate going to a ducted system.
And then we had a facility study done that we haven't gotten a full report on, and
Yeah, they're in phase 4, I think.
yeah.
No, on Thursday. Always an adventure, 1 week at a time.
Everybody ready? I mean. Ready?
Yep.
Ardell? Lois?
Yep.
Cheryl?
Yep.
And you've already answered. Okay, well, welcome everybody to the June 14th meeting of the Whitewater Township Board at 9 a.m. in the morning. And if everyone will join me for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call when ready. Here.
Goss. Here. Bennett. Here. Glenn.
Here.
Vamos.
Here.
Changes to the agenda. We have 2. I would like to add Whitewater Township Campground Playground Inspection. And I would like to remove payables from the consent calendar.
Where are you suggesting we add the first one?
The inspection,
Mm-hmm.
we can add that as the last new business item, number 16.
You said pull the,
Payables from the consent calendar. Discuss those as a business item, or we can discuss it at consent calendar time like we normally do.
Well, I don't think you can remove, if you have specific things, but I don't think you can remove everything from the payables section.
Could be a long meeting.
Not for me.
Are we removing payables?
I'm not in agreement with that.
Well, let's see.
Well, if you want to remove something from the consent calendar, that would be done under consent calendar, not at this time.
Well, if we have to add it as an agenda item, we would want to do it now, wouldn't we?
You want to add it at the end of the meeting?
We normally discuss it during the consent calendar. Do you just want to do it there? That's fine.
I want the meeting to move along as it should. So I'm not aware of removing anybody that would remove the entire bills for approval from the consent calendar. But if you want to do that, I guess it can be added as an agenda item at the end. People shouldn't have to wait around for an hour and a half of consent calendar discussion.
Well, then let's go ahead and remove the Don Way payments of $3,000.
You would do this under consent calendar.
Okay, we'll do it under consent calendar. Any conflicts of interest? Any public comment this morning here in the House? Please welcome to the podium. Okay.
You want the lights out?
For the record, my name is Melissa Melton, 5044 Vinton Road. So today I just wanted to show you, this is what the High Prairie Park looked like prior to our cleanup day. There was fencing issues, there was tree issues, as you can see, lots of debris, regular maintenance stuff, you know, that needs to be cleaned up. Obviously, that looked horrible, needed to be cleaned up. So at the beginning, we signed documents to make sure everybody was not going to sue the township. Huge pile of sand, which was fun. So we had a group of volunteers, and I do talk a little bit in this video who was here. That's my parents, actually. My mom is actually the chaplain of Gleaner. So she said a prayer in the beginning, and the Young Marines and us did a Pledge of Allegiance to start the event as well. And then we pretty much got to work. It was interesting, you know, most of the people who were there today were actually from either Fife Lake or Traverse City.
And down to help with safety zone material that we've given you over the years of use. And of course, meeting it prior to that. her to help volunteer as well. So we've got a whole crew of people, and we hope to make great progress.
So I'll point out as we go forward in some of these videos, but some of the clearance notations in the inspection that's going to be discussed later in the meeting were things like this monkey bar thing, you know, was within a few inches of their clearance guidance as stated in their inspection. Those bleachers are really rough, by the way, so that's something else to consider for future. Fran even came out to help. I was so impressed with what she did. She was a trooper. Then I do have another video clip. It's a little loud, but
We are in a pressure washing stage of meeting is mostly done.
and then of course we had lunch, so that slowed the progress down. Everybody was hungry. Rightly so. Everybody ate, or everybody worked really hard. So benches came out nice. We did pressure wash it just lightly, so we didn't peel off.
But we got as much done as we could. We got 3 benches cleaned off, power washer. We got the fencing put back together. We got the-
I timed it. It was 4 minutes and 45 seconds.
You've been up there now over 5
As
minutes.
much as we could.
Okay.
This rule is not enforced against anyone else, so I don't know why it would be against our Parks and Rec chairperson.
How much longer is it?
It's like not even 2 minutes.
4 fallen trees that were in the field, as well as
Should we turn the lights off
leaves
next
that
time?
were inside of the dugouts.
You could see
So
half of
cleaned
it.
up.
Is
The
in-
sand project, as I said, started raining on us, so we did end up having the crew left, but we got the majority of this all done. There's a little bit more of a pile that is, I'm sure, to be played on by a lot of children as well. That is a wonderful job that we volunteered to do today.
And the only other clip I have, it's, you know, probably another minute, is just showing essentially what community members are using this park. And again, the clearance issues from the side of the slide to the outer border is within inches of being within the guidelines of the handbook.
This is during the baseball games.
Yes, this is during a baseball game. Baseball started June 1st. They have baseball almost every night, almost every night, or at least during the week. There's both fields that are being played on. Even the basketball field and the tennis field was being utilized by the kids. But yeah, they're having a great time. All the fencing obviously was fixed, so there was no pop-ups that were going under, or balls that were going from under the dugout. So it was a much safer situation. So that's it.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment here in the Township Hall?
Morning, my name is Vicky Beam. I'm on Bags Road. I'm Melissa. Was a great presentation, looks great. I am just so tired of the fighting. Let's get it together. It's an embarrassment. Sitting in the PC meetings is embarrassing. The last board meeting that I was in was embarrassing. It already kind of started off today. You all are here to be representing our township and helping us move forward. Stop the personal agendas and figure out what to do to work together. It's unbelievable. The PC meeting, they were ready for a public hearing, but it hadn't been posted. You know, I've made comments about, you know, Randy Milnick wanting to help out. We desperately need some help. And last meeting was a conflict of interest. I still really don't understand that. There's just so many things. Obviously, I'm opposed to Baggs Road and the site condo, and I'll continue saying that every time that I come up here. And if you all come out there and see what's going on, you'll see why. I thought I'd bring up something. Chick-fil-A came into being not too long ago. It was approved, and guess what? Now the township is trying to go back on what they approved, and it's too late. So that is really what I'm looking at. Get it together before it's too late. It will never be turned around. You cannot bring the horse back once it is let out of the barn. Sorry. You know, going back to working together, I have been going back through meetings, and I'm appalled that some of the citizens of this township have been called stupid, Nazi. I was at a planning commission where we were called angry. What we are is concerned. Maybe it is coming across as angry, but it really is concern. It is concern of where we are heading. Again, no personal agendas. And if you think this is going to stop again at Baggs Road, it is just the beginning. The gentleman was out there when the digging was going on. He is now talking about those homes being $500,000 to $700,000. When it came here, they were talking about affordable housing. I don't know where you think that is affordable. I certainly don't. So it's not going to stop. I was recently at a conference in Charleston. We were on a carriage tour. A gentleman was part of the rehabilitation of Charleston and some of the beautiful old homes, talking about the meetings that they're in and being concerned of preserving their character. Our rural character is what we should be concerned about, and we need to work together, not against each other. Thank you for your time.
Hi, Connie Highmore, Baggs Road. So I have a survey map of the property at Baggs Road, what we're talking about here, where our properties are concerning the yellow, where the site plan condos. Also, kind of a primitive, small drawing of the site plan and the difference between how the land layout is with people who are building on 10 acres, 50 acres, 20 acres. My husband and I have printed out the zoning ordinances, the master plan. So we've kind of been doing our homework. It's been stated many times that the master plan is where we want to go, and the ordinances is how we get there. And we're all in agreement with that. I'll be quoting many items directly from the ordinance and master plan. The master plan states, the master plan is a comprehensive long-range plan intended to guide growth and development of Whitewater Township. It also states Whitewater Township zoning ordinances remain the authority in all township zoning matters. Article 25, Section 12, Paragraph O, it states all land uses and developments shall conform with the applicable goals, policies, and objectives in the township master plan. Article 2, Section 13, Paragraph 4 also states the word shall is always mandatory and never discretionary. The word may is permissive. The number one goal of the Whitewater Township Master Plan, respect the rights of the township residents and property owners. It continues to say, encourage land uses that are compatible with adjacent land uses. 22 homes on 30 acres is not compatible with adjacent land uses where there is one house on 10, 20, and 50 acre plots. The number 2 goal of the Whitewater Township Master Plan, preserve Whitewater's Township's rural character. Again, 22 homes on 30 acres does not preserve rural character. We purchased our retirement property based on the Township Master Plan and the ordinances that are in place to protect the wants of the residents. Please follow the master plan and ordinances. To continue further with further evidence that the proposed site condo development should not be approved, the property where the site condos are proposed is parcel B of the Morrison Orchards subdivision. That parcel was originally incorrectly split per township ordinances. Width versus length ratio can only be partitioned into 4 parts. Article 2, Section 12 states no lot, outlot, or other parcel of land in a recorded plat shall be further partitioned or divided unless in conformity with the standards of the district in which it exists. The township may permit partitioning of land into not more than 4 parts. So I have a question. How is a 30-acre parcel split into 22 parts? The ordinance states that the township may only allow a maximum of 4. I can go on and on how the proposed site condo development does not conform to other articles of the ordinance. That is, if the township decides to violate all the ordinances I've previously mentioned. Clearly, there's much confusion concerning zoning ordinances and site condos. I'm not sure how we get to a place where there's understanding. Article 28, under condominium development regulations, 28.16, this is how we can get through this. This was brought before us in a preliminary review. And under that article, it says any applicant can request a preliminary review of proposed condominium development with the zoning administrator and 1 to 3 planning commissioners. This review allows open dialogue. At the very end, it just says the preliminary review is available as a sounding board only. No decisions or approvals shall be rendered, either stated or implied. So we're not locked into this yet. So hopefully we look into it more. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've heard a lot about Baggs Road. I obviously am interested in Baggs Road as well. But I'll be honest, that just kind of pricked my interest in this township and the lack of the attention that's happening here. And I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus, but it's very frustrating. I feel like we're up here week after week after week and nothing comes back to us. We don't hear anything back. So are we talking on deaf ears? We need a town hall meeting. I would request a town hall meeting, and I think there's others that feel that as well. We want feedback from you guys. We want to hear what you guys are, your thoughts are. Baggs Road, 30 acres, divided into 22 parcels. Connie pointed out the division issue. Affordable housing, $500,000 to $700,000 a house. That's affordable. We need to be proactive in this township, not reactive. Just because we have a legal fund doesn't mean we have to exhaust it. Same thing goes with the marijuana. I will be very honest. I'm not on top of what's going on with marijuana, but I've also heard in that we'll probably get sued anyway. Really? That's the attitude we're going to have? Let me ask you, in your personal home, are you going to act like, well, if I get sued, and just throw my money away? This is our money. This is the township's money. I live on Baggs Road. I'm part of a 501c group. If the condo development is legal, I will accept that. But in the process right now, I'm spending money for the township's attorney and for a personal attorney, just to make sure things are right. Why can't the township come together, work together as a team, and figure this out?
Randy Melnick, very, very educated person, conflict of interest. Nobody has come out to say what the conflict of interest is. He's very intelligent, knows a lot of stuff. He could save us a lot of money as a township. Wouldn't it be awesome to spend money on something that will benefit us rather than be thrown away? I know I would. We are coming into tough times. We cannot be throwing money away. We cannot be throwing money away on frivolous things. This board, I don't care what your personal agendas are. I really don't. But when you're in front of us, you need to work as a team. That's what you were hired to do. You work for us. If you don't like so-and-so or so-and-so said something that offended you, I am sorry. But when you walk in the meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning, that should be put aside until the time you walk out of this building. We need to stop letting other people from outside of our township try to dictate what we're doing. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen with Baggs Road. We have a developer from Grand Rapids that's coming in to build 22 homes, affordable homes. When those homes don't sell at $500,000 to $700,000 a piece, you're going to get another investor to come in to rent them. Then what? Do renters take care of the property like a homeowner does? I can guarantee you the answer is no. I have a renter that lives next to us. We're constantly cleaning up after them. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, but as a general, I think that's what you're going to see. We need to come together. The PC needs to work with the board needs to work with the PC. It's not two separate entities. We're all from the same township. We need to start working together. Please listen to us. Please, personal agendas aside, listen to what we're asking, listen to what we're saying. It's got to stop, please.
Anyone else here in the township hall?
Go ahead, Denise. No, you go first. It takes me too long.
Good morning. I'll make this brief, I hope. I read through the packet and I noted one comment by a planning commission member that there had been mentioned in the past that we needed land ownership to be on the planning commission as a screening process during the interview. It's a volunteer position. And initially I had thought that maybe someone should own land to be on the planning commission. But I've rethought that because there'll be probably several people that we know or maybe in their lifetime, they will never be able to afford to own a house. And I don't think that they should be overlooked in volunteer positions with our township. They can live here for 20 years as a renter and care about the township and never own any property. And I did look up the voting rights history of the United States, and in 1856, they dropped the requirement for land ownership in voting. So in 1870, the Black Americans were allowed to vote, 1920 women, and lastly, American Indian, 1924, which I didn't know about. So there's maybe Whitewater Township can reconsider that thought in their requirements to be a volunteer on the planning commission. The ARPA survey that was developed was understood to be necessary for it to be concluded and by the mail date of June 15 for the taxes was a deadline. That was a hard deadline. We had 10 days of to do this. The overview after reviewing 4 or 5 other surveys in the area, the Grand Traverse County ARPA fund, a private organization membership, the Elk Rapids Library Survey. I think it's Northwest Networks survey. we were looking at overview. The purpose was to ask the residents and taxpayers, which aren't always necessarily the same, what they would like the ARPA funds to be used for in our township. We didn't want to go in and tell them what we thought that the funds should be used for. We gave them some suggestions to the top 3 and other because we don't know everything, and we wanted them to add in their personal thoughts. We were looking for information and as well as the question about what the resources of the township that they have used. That's an informative, it's inquiring as to what they use in the township, as well as informing them, educating them what is available in the township. Many of the residents did not grow up here. We have not been to the parks. We have not used Whitewater Township Park. I didn't know that there was a boat launch on Baggs Road. So there's a lot that people don't know about that you assume that they know about because you've been here forever. So that was the purpose of that. The last paragraph is, I believe in not wasting money. So for saving postage on putting this in with the tax bill that has to go out. I don't know if it has to be received by July 1st, but that paragraph was asking for involvement in your community by the residents in participating. There's always, in the past year, there's been a request for people, do you want to looking for the planning commission, the Parks and Rec. I noticed they just have an applicant, they had a vacant position. That was one of them. Grant writing, which is, we don't have the funds to hire a grant writer. We don't have the funds for a lot of things, but if we can get the experience of the residents and the community to come together and work together, we might be able to go ahead and get some of these things worked on for free, and that's a good price. Thank you.
Heidi Valmus, 8388 Winnie Lane. I'm up here as a private citizen. Kind of a disgusted one. Only because a few things concern me. And here they are, folks. Playground equipment. I'm a retired safety specialist. I look at everything. Is it safe? Is it right? Could it be wrong? It's my training. It never leaves you. It's like being a mom. That never leaves you either. I watched that entire meeting of the PrAC last night. I skipped out towards 9 because I had to take a phone call. But here's my problem. All those minutes, all that discussion, you're going to hear 6 reasons later of why it's okay we don't inspect our park equipment. Well, you can call me any name in the book you want. But duty of care, negligence, liability, and damages are my responsibility now as a trustee. Okay. But here's my responsibility. I'm a mom first, and I expect when my kid goes running towards that playground equipment, that it to be safe and that it's inspected by someone that knows how to inspect it. If we flunked, time to pass. Want to know how many Benjamins it costs? $750. Kind of like some crappy firewood I had to remove. Little kids like $750. Maybe the inspection is going to cost $1,000. I'm sorry. There's no price on human life. They only put it on body parts. Body parts. I fall in a parking lot in school. I break my kneecap. That judge gives me $10,000 because that's how much my kneecap's worth. My child, I'm sorry, I don't put a price tag on my child. My child's gonna do dumb things, stupid things. They're gonna hurt themselves. They're gonna take it to the last possible second. And you're grabbing them back because they just want to go the full thing. Well, we can't let them go the full ride all the time. We have to make decisions. 200,000 children are injured a year. Wow, 200,000. I didn't even get to the deaths yet. But you know what? An average verdict for a child injured by a swing set is in the millions. I do believe we only had 100,000. I wonder how our insurance company would feel if they knew we were shrugging our responsibilities of inspections. No, I didn't want to. It's dangerous.
Anyone else here in Township Hall?
Hello, most of you know me. My name is Amber Voice. I've had lots of phone calls this week, one about the playground, two about an application that I sent in, about the baseball field, just everything going on with the township as a whole. I want us to come together. There's so many aspects. This community is such a great place. As you saw Melissa put up there, the park. The park is a beautiful place. The baseball board has, asked them many times, how can we help? Multiple things. We've donated a generous amount of money into that field, volunteering our time to clean it up. We don't ever ask for gas money to drag those fields, not once. We have done multiple things, clearing the fence line. Whenever I can to go down there and help clean out flower beds, pick up garbage, we do that as a whole because we love that park so much. With that being said, to close that playground set it would be a disaster. There are so many families that go use it. I know a lot of you don't go down there. But for families who don't have the access funds to pay for playground equipment, be able to go places, gas is $5 a gallon. Inflation it's awful. It's a beautiful spot to go. It provides basketball courts, tennis courts, a baseball field, playground equipment, a place to eat, bathrooms. I would love to see the board look at it as, how can we fix it instead of shutting it down? This community is beautiful. It is a beautiful place the way it is. And with that being said, I applied for a Parks and Rec position. I do work at the hospital. I am a registered CT tech. I know what it's like. I mean, working in the healthcare, I see the goods and the bads, the ugly. So I wanted to do good. I was like, what can I do to help the community? They asked me to be on the Parks and Rec. I told them my situation. They were willing to work with it. So I applied. I was told my application never came to the board because it was a conflict of interest being on the baseball board. If it's a conflict of interest, I will not give up my board position. I'm here to help. I want to do good. I'm not here with an agenda to better the baseball board. I'm here to better everything. I'm here to better the community. I want to start somewhere and work my way up into this township. I want to make it what it is, what you all stand for, what you guys believe in. People love the campground. People love the boating. They love the trails. We all want to live here. We all want to make it great. I want us to work together. So with that being said, instead of shutting things down, let's grow. Let's grow as a community. Let's fix things. Let's figure out how to do this. There's so many resources. There's so many good people out there that are willing to donate time, willing to donate money. If you know the right people, I just wish you would think about that kind of things and put conflict of interest aside and look at that individual as a whole and what they can bring to the board. as an individual, with baseball, we know we use the parks. We donate, we try to donate. We work with you, with the banners. We're, as soon as all our banners are up, we will bring back that money that we told we would pay for you. We did it last year to help pay for the maintenance, the lawn care. We want to work together. And there's a lot of people in this community, regardless of conflict of interest, that want to work together to make this place great. So please, please, please consider all of that. Thank you.
Anyone else here in Township Hall? Going out to Zoom land. First one I see is Linda Slopesma. Good morning, Linda. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. So I have a public comment regarding new business number 8, which is actually old business. It's the accepting marijuana applications and the proposal to delay accepting applications. So since the fall of 2020, the township has spent over $100,000, which is predominantly legal fees, on marijuana implementation against the documented will of the people in the township. This does not include all of the time our elected officials have spent working on the issue and not tending to other critical issues. The public predicted this litigation cost back in the fall of 2020, prior to the ordinances being approved. This is documented in the meeting minutes if anybody's interested. Recent information has been published regarding the many struggles communities are having with the operation of marijuana businesses. Predominantly, they are nuisance issues such as odors and litigation. We need to understand that indoor grow does not equal no odor. Venting is a required part of the process of growing marijuana. Just go and ask the neighboring businesses in Kalkaska how this is impacting their non-marijuana businesses having to deal with these terrible smells. Having a solid plan to minimize impact to the community and an enforcement plan are crucial if we continue on this path of marijuana. This should also include a financial funding plan if we continue on this path of 120 permits within our community. We can't afford to keep bleeding money on this project. Marijuana is very similar to other concerns that have been voiced recently with condo development relative to respecting rights of all property owners and preserving our rural character. As it was stated earlier, you can't go back once you start accepting applications and approving them. I encourage all of you to vote to delay any application acceptance until at the very earliest, August 12th. Thank you.
Jason, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
All right. Jason Gilman, Grand Traverse County Road Commission. I just wanted to respond to the Whitewater Township Supervisor's report, the first item about the block culvert. Just for the record, the staff visited the site on the 17th. The culvert was flowing freely at roughly half full. The superintendent noted that there was organic debris, sticks, etc. In the water there, but it wasn't until the 20th when we had that storm that went through that also caused the problem for Gaylord. That was the very same cell that happened, and that broke a beaver dam free, and the beaver dam is what plugged up the culvert. And there's really nothing we could have done about that beaver dam prior to that event, because it was on private property well outside of the right of way. There's really nothing we could do. And I just wanted to make sure that your people there understood that. It is clear now, and but there's something else that should be noted, is that is a FEMA floodplain as well. It is on the schedule for the floodplains, and that the owners should be aware of that as well. And I just wanted to address that. That's all. And I'll be around if anybody has any other questions about anything else going on.
Mr. Gutnick, I see that your hand is up.
Thanks, Ron. First of all, I just wanted to, going through the package, I wanted to thank Heidi and the other volunteers that wanted to remain anonymous, I guess, to picking up the ball on the ARPA fund surveys. If approved, obviously, you'll have to put a little bit more detail behind each one of those things. So thank you very much. And also thank you to the volunteers that helped with the park cleanup. Greatly appreciated. But just a couple other items here, and I think you've kind of heard it here from some of the citizens. Negativity breeds negativity. Negativity breeds negativity, and you need to just think about that a little bit. And it all starts here at the board. And even today, just within a few minutes of starting the meeting, the knives started coming up. Why do you need to be so cantankerous and confrontational? It doesn't help in any way, shape, or form. In Washington, regardless of the party that you associate with, Republican, Democrats, right, left, I don't really care. The lack of progress that's happening there is all because of infighting and is based on vindictiveness and self-serving interests by our government officials. They are not doing what is right for the people and have divided this country and are destroying our democracy. If that doesn't anger you, it should. I remind you that the Constitution starts with a very simple few words. It starts with "we the people," not we the government officials, not we the lobbyists. It is extremely obvious that the officials in Washington are in office to support their own selfish and self-serving and financial desires, and it should anger all of us. It also exists in Lansing. Does it exist in Whitewater Township? I can tell you personally that 2 officials in the Grand Traverse Prosecuting Attorney's Office have commented to me that Whitewater Township is an embarrassment to the county and have mentioned 3 members, 2 of whom still reside on the board. Everything from the clerk's comments to the state police with regards to the board meeting during the COVID time, the multiple attempts to illegally appoint the treasurer to the PC, and recently the issues at the PC. In addition to all the negative publications in the press, and I think you've heard on numerous occasions words from the community that says, wow, wow, wow. And here we are again being watched by the news media. Are we all part? We are all part of Team Whitewater Township. Why do you have to be so dividing? I remind you that the Constitution starts with "we the people of Whitewater Township," not the self-serving government officials, individuals outside, non-tax-paying companies that want to exploit their greed. We, the tax-paying people of Whitewater Township, you need to each individually listen to the community, listen to what the people have to say, and we need to work together. Negativity breeds negativity, and it starts here. As Vicky said, it appears that the people are angry. We are concerned, and that's absolutely 100% correct. And that appears to be abuse of our rights by certain individuals, and it's because we are being attacked, and we're coming back at you. Also, not to mention any names, but there is a person sitting at the tables that I'd like to respectfully ask to please stop posting rhetoric on Facebook. As we have all learned that one can no longer believe what we hear, but opinions that are politically driven. You always have to ask yourself, is it fact or is it fiction? From what I keep reading, much of what I read is filled with half-truths and disingenuous information that does nothing to help Whitewater Township, but supports the personal and political agendas. I respect your freedom of speech, but please, I'll need to try to turn this ship around. And lastly, just wanted to comment on what Amber had said here, where it was said that she has a conflict of interest with regards to the baseball. If that's the case, everyone on this board has a conflict of interest because you live in the community and you're making decisions for the community. But, and just like Amber, if there's any decision that has to come up with regards to the baseball fields, Amber should step aside and say, I have a conflict of interest, just like all the board members should do when topics come up that affect them personally. Thanks.
Margaret, any public comment? Kim, any public comment?
No.
KG, any public comment? Karen, any public comment? Mr. Rebant, any public comment?
No.
Tom, any public comment? And finally, Peggy, any public comment? Okay, we'll return to our agenda then.
I do have a public comment to read.
Okay.
This public comment is by Stephanie Anderson. Hello, I saw last night on the agenda for next week's meeting that there will be a discussion about the High Prairie Park Playground. I am a Williamsburg resident and advocate for the park. I am unable to attend the monthly 9 a.m. meetings because I work. Please share my concerns as public comment at the meeting Tuesday. As a family who, so it's regarding High Prairie Park proposed closure of playground due to safety concerns. As a family who uses this park 1 to 2 times a week, I want to know why there is a proposed closure for safety. Every time I am there, multiple kids are using the playground. My 3-year-old and 7-year-old who plays ER baseball at High Prairie typically play until I drag them away. As a parent, I have never had a safety concern. In fact, I lead the Mill Creek Girl Scout troop and we just did a trash pickup there in April. The trash was minimal. We have one playground locally we can use other than the school. Why would you suggest closing it? Are you trying to deter future families and young couples from moving to Williamsburg and making the community more vibrant? The schools are already losing students to virtual education. We should be thinking about how to bring in more families and community members. And you want to close our main playground? If you don't look forward to growth, Williamsburg will be stuck in the past and left in the dust of communities choosing to attract young families and new residents. Thank you, Stephanie Anderson.
Anyone else for public comment? All right, reports and presentation. I don't see Daryl Nelson here for the county report. So Chief, that brings you up.
All righty.
Good morning.
Good morning, Brandon Flynn, Fire Chief, Whitewater Township. As you can see, May was kind of busy. Had 13 calls and most of those are wildfires because of the dry conditions we've been having. So we really rely on the DNR to keep us up to date on the conditions out here, and they do more in-depth testing as far as the moisture levels of the fuels. And that helps us out. He sends us emails every morning to give us an idea what's going on and if burn permits are opened or closed. So that helps us out a lot. Other news, our run total in general is way up. Last year, we had 33 calls at this time. As of last night, we were up to 59 this year. That's a 79% increase. And of course, our staffing is down 28%. So it's a little bit stressful on the fire department. I think many of those calls are the wildfire calls that we've been having. I do have 2 new applicants. They will be attending the fire academy this fall. But that won't finish until next May. That's when they'll be able to respond as full-fledged firefighters. But until then, we'll kind of be struggling with staffing, and hopefully we can track down some already trained personnel. I do have some good news. I have several completed projects that I've been working on the past 2 months. The chief's vehicle is done. Our SCBA air packs from the AFG grant is completed. I did take up 10 air packs to North Central Michigan College, and they're very excited to receive those. And that will help us here in Northern Michigan with new firefighter recruits, because they have a pretty good fire academy program and a fire science program at that college. The snowmobiles have been delivered, so we do have those. This fall, we'll be working on getting them ready for the snow season and getting rid of our old snowmobiles. So that's another thing I can check off my list. And the cleanup from the storm damage from December of last year has all been completed. The station's repaired, the fence is repaired, and all of the damage at the cemetery has been cleaned up. So that's another big item I can check off my list. So I'd like to thank the board for helping me out with all of those items over the past pretty much year and a half that we've been working on that stuff. And there is still one more pending big job, and that's replacement of the brush truck, but that's kind of out of our hands right now. That's up to the automobile manufacturers and the state My Deal program. I may have to just buy retail if they can't get their act together with new pricing for this year. And I think that's all I have. Any questions, comments, or concerns? No?
Thank you for the pictures of the snowmobiles.
Oh, yeah, yep.
And thank you for coming to cleanup day. Families really appreciate it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Your brush truck, how long you think it's got?
The existing brush trucks? Well, the big brush truck has not passed DOT, so we don't take it out. And the smaller one actually belongs to the state. And that one's doing pretty good. That's our primary response on all of these brush fires.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So is it that the truck won't pass DOT, or we just didn't submit it because we don't have anybody to drive it?
That too.
Okay.
It's a standard transmission, and there's only like 3 of us that can drive a standard transmission.
Guess I should come out.
Well, we were thinking about doing a training class on how to drive a stick shift, but you just can't learn on that truck.
Yeah.
It's a 1969 AM General. It's military surplus. So eventually we'll be able to get a cabin chassis and transfer that skid unit. It's a 400-gallon skid unit, so it's very large capacity and what we need. And we really could have used it at that Strombolish Road fire, because that turned out to be 18 acres. And we couldn't have done that one without the DNR. But it's just going to take some time. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim, do you have anything to report from the Planning Commission?
Yes, the Planning Commission has set a public hearing for 3 of our large projects for this July 6th. We will be reviewing Article 25 site plan and special use permit review standards. We will be reviewing the medical marijuana ordinance that we've been working on for quite some time. And we will also be receiving public comment on Article 12. We have restructured Article 12, which deals with setbacks and yard requirements, hopefully into a more legible, easier to read format. Moved a few standards that were in perhaps a less than ideal location, and then also updated the preamble, which is Article 1 of the ordinance. All of that will be coming before the people for public comment at our July 6th meeting.
Any questions? So Kim, you said medical marijuana ordinance, but not,
yes,
not recreational?
It was an oversight. Recreational was not on our agenda, so we did not forward it to public hearing. In addition to that, it also seems like it would be awkward to put forward adult use literally days before the general public has a right to vote on it. So that will probably be scheduled for public hearing, I would assume, with the PC for August. But the board is going to have a large bulk of ordinance coming to them for review in the very near future.
Okay. Cheryl, Park and Recs.
Yes, the Park and Rec Committee met last night. All members were present. Minutes of 5/9 meeting were approved. I provided updates to the committee on the High Prairie Park dugouts, the Whitewater Township playground renovation. There was a lot of discussion of landing zone material for Whitewater Township Park playground. I volunteered to contact Rick Stout of F&D on this topic. Let's see what else. I provided there was also a lot of discussion of the High Prairie Park playground. Melissa Melton did a checklist of safety and general maintenance things. There wasn't much to report on that. There were no major safety issues. As far as the BCNA and Lossy Trail tree removal results, I provided an update, told them that was on the agenda today, how many bids we got. I told them about the proposed ARPA survey. We talked about the bids a little bit. They wanted to know what would happen if the contractor that was chosen, their price didn't use up all of the funds that have been set aside for that storm damage cleanup. I was asked to ask the board, if they take the lower bid, does the rec budget get the funds back to put toward capital projects? The Lossy Trail wetland and bridge improvement project was discussed. There's been not much movement on that. Steve Largent had sent an email with his recommendations. If Steve Largent is with Grand Traverse County Conservation District, and we're hoping if Steve Largent and that district do get the bid, which we don't know if they will, but we're going to ask them to evaluate that wet area and propose a fix for that out there. Melissa showed the same slideshow that she showed here. By the way, she did an excellent job coordinating that cleanup over there and putting together the slideshow. Under new business, they talked about the agenda item to close the High Prairie Park playground, and they have a statement. They came up with a statement they want me to read. Okay, so I will read that. The Parks and Rec Committee does not agree with the motion to close the playground due to, number one, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, Section 1, subsection 1.1, fifth paragraph. Because many factors may affect playground safety, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission believes that guidelines rather than a mandatory rule are appropriate. The guidelines are not a mandatory standard. They would encourage the board to completely read the handbook for public playground safety. Number 2, sand is an approved landing zone material per Consumer Product Safety Commission guidelines in the handbook for playground safety, table 1, page 5. Number 3, in part 35 of the ADA regulations, section 35.150, existing facilities, parentheses A, general, parentheses 1, does not necessarily require a public entity to make each of its existing facilities accessible to and usable by individuals with disabilities. Also, paragraph parentheses 3 speaks to undue financial and administrative burden. And if that exists, the municipality does not have to comply with ADA. Number 4, the U.S. Department of Justice has made it clear that not necessarily every existing site needs to be accessible. Number 5, the township has not received any complaints of safety incidents or injuries. Number 6, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee did an annual safety and maintenance inspection for any usage concerns. Nothing of concern was found. Under the resolution to change the appointment request submittal process, they are very concerned and would like to know and change the standard by which apparently all applications for appointments are getting funneled through one person to dictate whether that person can be brought in front of the township to have them evaluated for approval. They would like to see that changed. I told them I would check ordinance 48 to see if that says that the supervisor has to be the person who recommends appointments to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. As far as the agenda item on our agenda, they had it on their agenda as well, for a motion to hire a new position for Parks, the Deputy Parks and Rec Administrator. There have been some issues with that. Melton found the wording was inappropriate. Who is initiating this? Why is it being initiated? Thought there was a problem with the language in there of also making it complicated because they want, the proposal is to have that person also be interested in becoming a firefighter or EMT. And Melton did agree that on large scale projects where the committee can help with grants and thoughts on certain things, they would like to be consulted. They did not get to the grants portion of their agenda. Their next meeting is July 11th, and there was public comment. The meeting actually didn't adjourn until 10:08 p.m.
Can we have a copy of that letter as a board?
The comments,
No, what you just read.
well, these are my notes.
That's all right.
But yeah, well, I'll be happy to give you, sure, I can give you this. These are just my rough notes.
Sure.
They don't contain everything that was said and all that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we can get that after the meeting?
Well, my office is actually closed today because I need to do payroll, so I don't think I'll be doing it today, but I will get it to you.
You can scan it and email it to us, right?
Yes.
Mr. Olson, good morning.
Great. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
I'm fine, thank you.
Morning.
Morning. Hi, my name's Paul Olson from Municipal Underwriters of West Michigan. I've been insuring Whitewater Township for the past 37 years. And my background in insurance is I currently insure about 191 public entities in North Central Michigan. And I just, if I could, I've been sitting through the meeting, all right, listening to certain comments. And one thing that I would like to make very clear, I don't want to get involved politically with what's going on here, but there are many, many playgrounds. I insure a lot of them, all right, that are not certainly up to standards. Okay. I have very few of my clients that I've ever remembered have closed a playground unless it was just so decrepit, that it was a liability risk. And one other thing that I would like to point out, I'd heard one person comment, well, we have $100,000 of coverage. No, you have $3 million of coverage. So just to clarify that. The $100,000 of coverage you have is on zoning issues. Okay, there is a sublimit since 1991 that has been put into the policy by participating. You okay? All right. So anyway, those are a couple things I wanted to point out. Is it once again, is it important, to do things in your playgrounds and parks? It certainly is. We had a risk control profile that was done in 2018. And one of the main things that we would like our clients to try to do would be to do some type of playground inspection during the times that the playgrounds are operating, be it once a month. If you have someone that just goes out and checks the equipment and documents that, all right, everything looks fine, okay, or everything doesn't look fine. And you should have a certain time period to repair that. What that does for us as an insurance company, it gets us in a better defense posture if something should happen. And you have to understand that when minors are injured, okay, and I want to also point something out if I can, because I think I'm pretty much an expert in this field, doing it 37 years. I have seen every form of litigation that you can possibly see, and I'm not trying to make light of this, but very few of those litigations are from a playground injury. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Doesn't mean you can't have a child get a closed head injury, falling off the monkey bars, all right? But really, for the most part, most of the things we take care of under a playground injury would be under your med pay coverage, up to $10,000 per person. If a child is injured on the playground, we do everything we can without asking any questions to take care of medical bills up to $10,000. If that doesn't satisfy the family, they have every right to litigate against the township. And we, as long as there's a damage suit asked for, we would cover and hire an attorney up to $3 million. Okay, is how your policy works. Couple of Ron had asked me to come and speak to you folks. As I said, I appreciate your business over the years. Are there any other questions or concerns? I have in my packet here, I have some updated loss runs for you. I also have, because we had some questions on the properties, and I've been at all the properties over the years, at least, I think I have been. And I just brought, we did reviews of all the properties quite a few years ago, and I have pictures of all the properties, and I think I'd just like to leave that because there was a couple questions as to what you may not have and do have anymore, and if there's anything we need to correct, just please let me know on that. And then I have 5-year of current loss runs for you here, and also the I want to tell you folks something else. Insurance premiums have gone up with all of my clients since about August of last year. Anyone with a fairly clean loss ratio are looking to have probably a 7 to 9% increase. Anybody with some claim issues, really between 10 and 15% is what we're looking at. As I said, I've done this for a long period of time. The highest increases I have ever seen are right now, okay, as far as our program is concerned, and also right after 9/11, there was some major increases in the product. I don't foresee this to be a huge trend. If you folks are aware of how I operate, we do try to get you the best possible premium. And you have one open litigation that we're looking at, but I think that seems to be winding, hopefully winding down. Any other questions at all? Yes.
Since you called yourself an expert
In insurance, not in
should-
playground equipment.
Okay, but you insure it. Should
Yes,
the
I do.
playground pass a new inspection if it failed one already?
Should the what I'm saying, we don't, to be quite candid with you, I'm not going to get involved with our risk control. I mean,
Would you say it's
I can
creating
give you,
risk?
I can give you the name and number of our risk control people who would be happy to speak to you and even come out and do an inspection. All I can tell you is from my experience, I don't know of too many entities that have shut down playgrounds due to the fact that they think that the slide is 8 inches too close to a wood that's surrounding it. All right, and I hope you understand, I'm not trying to be
No, I get it.
combative with you. I'm
No, I
just
get
trying
it.
to be candid with you. You know, that is the way we look at things. We can't tell, we insure 1,350 entities in Michigan. We can't dictate, okay? We can make suggestions through risk control, but we can't dictate. In my estimation, I don't dictate to my clients. I know I have coverage for it if something happens. Once again, up to $3 million. And not to say that we just want to, willy-nilly spend money on litigation, but, I just don't see this as, you live in a community where a playground is important, and quite frankly, there have been very, very few litigations in my 37 years of any children being injured on playground equipment. Plus, I think there is kind of a cloak of governmental immunity there. Is there a defect in the equipment? Isn't there a defect in the equipment? We can use governmental immunity in very good ways in court. And we try to use, that's one thing you have as a governmental entity, you have a cloak of governmental immunity. Probably my largest claims that I get involved with by far, okay, are when any of my entities pull a vehicle out of their garage, a fire truck, an ambulance, a police car, you have no governmental immunity for driving in Michigan. So the biggest litigations we have are going to be in that particular area. Yes, do we have litigations and personnel issues and wrongful termination? Certainly we do. But if you really think about that, those litigations in Michigan are not going to be that high because first of all, the person that's bringing a litigation against, say, a wrongful termination on a fire department or on a board, whatever it may be, an employee, those people, quite frankly, those people aren't making $500,000 a year, right? So most of these things that are mediated out on the personnel side usually do not go, very, very high. But I can give you, I'd be happy, Heidi, to give you Mike Gambos' number, or I can call you with it, or I get back to you folks with that. And if you would like him to come out and inspect the playgrounds, we just did it in 2017, and we probably should do another inspection anyway. So I can have him set up an inspection to come out, review the park, review the playgrounds, and review, the operation of the township. I can certainly do that.
I do have a question.
You're
too.
welcome. Yes.
My question is respect to the zoning insurance. So we do have the lawsuit over the zoning, and just to let you know, we thought we were going to have that settled at one time. That fell through. Depositions were just taken. It's set for trial in, I think it's September. Of course, there'll be another settlement conference ahead of that. But the $100,000 that we have, what does that cover?
You mean as far as what is the restricted use coverage?
Yeah, what is, we have.
That's
Mr.
going to cover
Maher-
attorney fees and a damage.
Attorney fees and damages. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So we only have $100,000 worth of coverage for, and of course, the insurance company appointed attorney has been involved now since the beginning, and of course, he's getting paid. I don't know.
What's the attorney's name? Is it Brad?
Thomas Maher, MEAGHER. And of course, if the plaintiff were to prevail on the lawsuit, damages could far exceed the $100,000. So that just becomes the township's responsibility.
Correct.
Then anything beyond
Correct.
$100,000.
And I've been told that, I've talked to several people on this, I've been told that they think they're in a pretty good position to be under that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I'm just looking out for the.
No,
fact
I
that
understand
The
that.
jury hasn't spoken yet.
And let me kind of explain
Right.
how this all came to pass. In 1990, when we were doing mainly a lot of townships, obviously, that's what our name connotates. There began to be a tremendous amount of growth in townships. So when you have an area to grow in, not like a city, okay? So townships had a lot of areas to grow, and we were getting involved with huge litigations on the zoning act that were really people just not paying attention, okay, to what was going on. And in 91, the restrictive use sublimit or the zoning, we reduced to 100,000. Since that time, out of all of my clients, I've never had anyone go over the 100,000. Because what it did is it gave us a hammer. Instead of saying, oh, you know, they've got $3 million of zoning coverage, it gave us a hammer to work together with the developer, whoever had an issue. And we've been very successful at that. However, you know, you're in a litigation right now. We can write higher limits. Okay, but we're gonna have to fill out a zoning app. And the higher limits aren't, you know, that outrageously expensive. But I just had one client request a higher limit. And you know, they're right in the middle of an issue. And so our underwriting department will look at that and say, well, you know, we're probably not going to increase that limit. Not to say that we can't do that. All right. We could certainly, after this is done, we could certainly take a look at higher limits on the sub limit. You know, we could go up to 500,000, I believe it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Oh, I have one question.
Yes.
I'm the new guy here, so.
That's fine.
Quick, your billing comes in three sections: of fire, general township, and parks. And so when I read the line item parks, is that Whitewater Township Park itself, or does that encompass High Prairie, the trails?
It encompasses every park that you have. We
Okay.
exposure rate these things. So basically, that would be contained any park.
Okay, so the three areas, do all three of those components have that $3 million?
Oh, yes. The only coverage that's limited is the sub limit on the zone,
Okay.
100,000. Everything else is a 3 million limit. It also is a 3 million limit. Attorney fees are outside. We don't stack coverages. So you have general liability at 3 million, public officials wrongful act at 3 million, auto liability at 3 million. So you know what I'm saying? It's not a combined single limit coverage.
Got it.
And yeah, so hopefully that answered that.
Okay, yeah, it did. And to build on that, I think we as a board asked Paul to kind of give us an idea of how much money went to the parks, how much money went to the fire department, just for our budgeting purposes. Right, yeah, I see that, and I looked at that back through the last budget. I just wanted to know they weren't three different policies in terms of three different limits.
No, it's just you are Whitewater Township. We write an entire broad, you know, encompassing
And
policy that
allocate
covers all the operations, covers all your volunteers, it covers all your boards and commissions, it covers any elected or officials, any volunteer that would be volunteering at the park the other day to help out. If one of those people, something would happen to them, or forbid it, they got injured severely and they could litigate against you, right? That could be a litigation. We would be, you know, defending that. And also under the volunteer status, since in Michigan, workers' compensation laws do not cover any volunteer operating for a public entity except what? Volunteer fire, EMS, and auxiliary police. So people that are volunteering for you at the playground, what we have and built in quite a few years ago is I mentioned the medical payments of 10,000. That volunteer, if they, for instance, I'm just saying, cut their hand, right, went and had stitches, we could pay for that under the med pay because we do include volunteers under the med pay, even though they aren't insured under the policy. So being insured under the policy just protects them liability wise, like if someone would sue them for doing something. And lots of times we have waiver signatures, you know, people who volunteer sign a waiver, you know, holding the township harmless. Well, you know, those are great. Okay. But if there's a litigation brought against the township and one of those allegations is looking for a damage, it helps to have the waivers, but once again, we still have to respond to that, to those allegations, which would be looking for a damage. I would say that would be really hard to happen unless someone, forbid it, might be killed or something, you know, out there operating for you and the family sued.
So did you have answers to my questions that I emailed you or no?
Which ones? We went over a bunch of them. I have the value. Okay, so Ron had asked me about valuable papers. and
Well,
records.
I'll go through them.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I have the majority of them, yes.
So I see that on page 12 of Paul's proposal, under auto and the description that we have snowmobiles at a 0 value. So I think we should probably address that.
So here's how this works. You have automatic snowmobile liability in the policy.
Okay.
What I'm concerned about is, you know, I guess physical damage to the snowmobile itself. And under the inland marine section of the policy, you have $50,000 of ancillary equipment, which would cover fire equipment each and every time you have an incident. So over the years, if I have, let's say you have your snowmobile out and it rolls over and it's damaged or it's totaled, we could go up to 25,000 for one item under that 50. The 50 works each and every occurrence. So that's how we cover the snowmobiles. Now, if you have any items that are over 25,000 in value, obviously besides your vehicles, we have those on. But that's where I would pull that coverage if something would happen. The liability is automatic on the snowmobile. Because what you're looking at, you were actually looking at an auto form, you know, where the autos
Sure.
are, and that snowmobiles are there, but the liability is built in
Okay.
for you. As long, then that's how that would work for you.
In anticipation of that answer,
Mhm.
like on inland marine section, we do have the Kubota and the boat listed.
Correct.
So if they are going to be covered under inland marine, should we not list the snowmobiles on that list?
Not necessary, because on my exposure rating, on my rating, I have them already listed. So that gives you the automatic liability, because you had 2 before, right?
Yes.
And now you're gonna get 2 different ones.
We actually have 4 right now.
Okay.
until like September.
And that's fine. So they are listed on the exposure, giving you the liability back.
So.
So really, Ron, what I guess my answer to that is if you have anything over 25,000, and that's why the Kubota is listed at 35, and I think the boat.
Okay.
I have the boat listed, and I think it's only 18, but that's another one where you have automatic liability on the boat. Under, I believe it is 28 feet.
So they're under 25,000, therefore don't need to be itemized.
Don't need to be itemized.
Gotcha.
Okay, yes, okay, that was perfect, what you just said, yes. Oh, and I'm gonna give, can I give you this too? 'Cause I don't know if you want it.
Okay. Sure. So then the other question I had for Paul, actually, it's for the board question. And so we handle this under new business. So the rest of my questions should really pertain to new business number 1.
And I did we had talked about we had spoken about the valuable papers and records coverage. Okay, and currently the township has 250,000 of valuable papers and records coverage. I'm sure no one, what's that mean? But what it is basically if you have a fight, it can happen a couple different ways. If we had a fire loss here at the hall and we were replacing the hall, there's certain things built into the property coverage in this product. One of those is valuable papers and records. What does that mean? I can tell you from my experience with fires, I've had about 7 of them. Basically, there's 250,000 to reconstruct valuable papers and records that may have been stored at the township. And as I spoke to Ron, I said, you know, one of the best ways to keep out of a valuable paper and record loss on a fire is to have things backed up off premise, you know, to have all your valuable papers and records backed up. So all that cost would be to hire someone, you understand what I'm saying, to come in and do the, you know, whatever it is, the computer work that you would have. And I was kind of shocked by this because I did get you a quote, you know, to go to $500,000. It's not my regular underwriter. He's gone till Friday, but the guy sent me, he goes, it would cost almost $4,000 to go from 250 to 500
For valuable papers.
to
and
increase
to
that.
increase.
And I don't want to hold, I want to make sure that's right because it sounded like quite a bit to me, but I'll recheck that. But that was what I got the other day on that, or after we spoke. And any other questions?
I'm good.
All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for your business over the years. I appreciate it. And if there's anything I can do, please let me know.
Thank you.
And I will also check into that for you and see where we're at and try to get over to someone that's handling that,
Handling.
the claim.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
talk to him. All
Yeah.
right, and I can get back to you.
Perfect. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul, for all your hard work.
Oh, he's gonna stay around.
My stomach was gurgling. I'm gonna run home to Williamsburg. Oh, I also have this too. I don't know if you asked for that, but
Oh, okay, all right. Excellent. Thank you.
you're welcome.
That moves us on to the consent calendar.
Motion to approve consent calendar as presented.
For discussion.
Made and seconded. And we're in discussion phase. Is that what you said, Heidi?
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions if I can start.
Sure.
New guy, questions again. Cheryl, can you explain or just educate me on pages 70 and 71 of the bills payable, the check register report, the detail lists $268,622 and so. However, on page 69, which is the kind of a summary recap by those line items, that amount totals to $301,452.83. Trying to understand why there would be a difference between the summary of checks being approved and then the register below that giving the detail. Actually, there's two registers below there, kind of that summary register and then another register. What would somebody ask me why there's a difference? How would I explain that?
The check register total of checks on page 71 is $268,622.23.
Agreed.
The invoice approval list by fund total, as shown on page 78, is the exact same figure, $268,622.23. Page 78. That's the end of the invoice approval list by fund.
Okay, and then on page 69 for bills for approval, and that lists those check registers, checks in there, the check numbers. Those line items total 301. That's what I'm trying to
Yes,
understand. the
and,
difference.
okay, the only thing, we don't print out payroll.
Okay.
So you don't add up the payroll items on there.
Okay, so the difference would be.
Yep.
Okay.
That's how the prior clerk did it, and that's how I've continued to do it.
So payroll, so you would take the election payroll 512, correct?
Yes,
Payroll 520, which is 2 underneath that, And then
Yes.
payroll, again, 520, different check set, so it's 1229, roughly 31, 32. Okay, so.
Yeah, and I
Up to
must have a date wrong in here because payroll, there wouldn't be two payroll 520s. So one of those has an incorrect date. More than likely, it's the first one. Trying to think why that would be wrong, but there were not two payrolls 520. So there would have been a payroll on 5/6. But see, that was probably on the prior bills for approval. You know, I'd have to look at this. I'd have to pull the check sets for each of those to see why it says 520, because yeah, the prior bills, the prior payroll of 5/6 would have been on the May. I believe it's on the May. We can check the packet for that.
Okay, I guess, the whole implicit is, a consent calendar and,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
consent is something that I don't think is might be inaccurate.
Right, yeah. That's how we've always done it.
I mean, it makes sense pulling the payroll.
Right.
That's fine. And
Right.
now going forward, I can balance those out.
If you were to print out a check, a list of checks for the payroll, many of them are going to be zero. Because the net check is zero for everybody who has direct deposit. So those, I remember that being, when I stood on the other side of the podium and questioned that, it's because that number's not going to show up because there's so many checks that are zero.
So I do have a copy of the bills approval for May. There is a 5/6 payroll listed.
Yeah.
And that was for 9,697. So, so the 520 is 17 and the second 520 is 12. So I guess the question is either one of those 520 shouldn't be in there or it's a miscoded date being not 520. Because if you did 5/6, then you go 1320, right?
Yeah, there'd be
Right? And
520.
And then there wouldn't be 527, and then that would be a June. So is it?
And probably what that is, the second 520 is probably 6/3. Because this report was run, and probably what happens when you start typing in that field, it's gonna want to fill it with what you wrote the
Autofill.
last time, and I probably didn't catch, so that's what it is. The second payroll 520 should be 6/3, because that would have been before this report was run.
Okay.
So let's see. Yeah, this report was run on 6/8. So that would have included 6/3 payroll. So that's what that is.
Okay, so going forward, the register should balance less the payroll against this.
Yes, it
assumption.
does balance mine, because I check that. And if I pull it wrong, like I put the wrong dates in or something like that, I always check to make sure the check register is the same number because it's the same money.
I'll look
Yep.
at them too, so.
Yep.
And then before I slide over to the treasurer's report, I do have two questions on, there's check number 47793 to, looks like the Milton Township. And it's listed under the register, description of promotional support for $1,000. Can you tell me-
47793 on page 70.
Yes, what is that? What was that for? I don't
It's-
recall.
Well, it says annual support 5/5 park. What that is that was the year 5 of 5 years. And that was an expenditure that was approved by the board 5 years ago through a request from Milton Township for Whitewater Township to support their new waterfront park. And so we are allowed to do that. We are allowed to do those types of promotional type things. We take it out of promotional expenses. But that was something that was approved by the board and we just made the last payment on that.
Okay, so that was, it was contracted, it was just
Yes,
the
yes.
annualization.
Mhm.
So, has Milton ever helped us? Or,
Well, we haven't asked them specifically to help us monetarily. They could be asked to do that, but we kind of consider them a little bit of a sister park. People can boat to their park from Whitewater Township Park and vice versa. So and it's advertising for Whitewater Township Park at their park that, hey, come on down to Whitewater Township Park, check out what we have to offer here on the other end of the lake.
okay, I'm not questioning the wisdom. I'm sure if it comes back, we'll talk about it, but it's
Yeah.
5-year commitment, okay. And then obviously the red herring to me, you know, we did the sand at High Prairie, and then there's an invoice in here for sand.
Yeah.
For $800. So is that $800 just coincidental for a different load somewhere, or
No.
is
No,
what
that
kind
was-
of happened there? Because that wasn't.
Well, because the Gleaner Arbor made a donation to us. So that donation is recorded under a revenue line item.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where the $800 came in and it went out via a check because we have to pay the contractor. So in other words, Gleaner didn't pay the contractor directly.
Mhm.
They gave us the money. We paid the contractor.
Okay, fair enough.
And
That's
we have a
what I-
receipt for that.
Yeah, I thought that's what it might be. Is that our standard operating process for those types of things? If somebody wants to donate that type of thing of value, is that how we typically handle, or did this just the way we handled this one?
Well, because for instance, the shoreline thing where they just donated the $3,700, they went ahead and purchased the ballasts and the bulbs and stuff like that. And then they did the labor to install those. So we did not get billed for that, where we got billed for the sand.
So suffice
So
to
it-
say, it's case by case, depending
It's a
on the
case by
organization.
case, yeah,
Okay,
how they do it.
okay, very well. Ardella, could I ask you a quick question on the page 10 and page 11? Bank accounts. Let me get to my notes here. So I'm looking here at, I look at the April 30th, which is page 10, and total, and just looking at the total general fund and checking, which was, I'm going to use some round numbers, 2,829,000 and some change. And the bill approvals for March or for May that the board approved was a little over $64,000. And then we get into the May 31st balance for that same thing, general fund checking, and that the account went, those collection of accounts went down almost $242,000. But we had bill approvals for 64. Is there another report? Why would that not tie out? I mean, other than.
Well, do all your checks cash at the same time within the same month? You're gonna have influx. These are bank account totals.
Okay. So is there currently a report that that I'm not getting, that just because of the new guy, that there's a monthly budget or expense to budget monthly, not, we say, I call it a P&L, but it's really not a P&L. It's an operating expense to budget for the month, for the year to date.
Well, that would be produced by the clerk's office. My office deals with bank balances and reconciliations. What is posted into funds and P&L is produced in the clerk's office through the accounting system.
But Cheryl, is there a monthly report out there that we get?
And
The
all-
board's been getting that I maybe just didn't get part of the loop yet.
No, there's not a monthly report. Our financial administration policy calls for a quarterly report of revenues and expenditures.
So the first one will go from April 1st. So we'll see one April, May, June.
In July.
We'll see July
In
in
July.
July for the meeting or Sometime in July.
I try to do it for the meeting.
Okay.
Yep, I try to do it for the meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Don,
Yeah.
if you are interested in coming into the office and sitting down with us, we'll be happy to show you how things are inputted, where it goes, how it gets reported. Absolutely no problem. You're the new guy. You want to see it?
Yeah,
Just
I'll
let-
take, I'll
just
take
let me
you,
know.
yeah, I'll take you up on that. I just, I'm sure,
We actually use two different accounting programs. There's a separation of office. It helps with the auditing to show that everything is not passing through. Mine's separate than hers. So when we balance funds, we actually balance funds.
okay, thank you for those.
Sure, no problem.
Those were the only consent questions I had.
Eddie, did you have any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
So my questions begin on page 69, bills for approval, actually 70. I've requested that I get copies of, let's just go check number 47780. It was a $3,000 purchase. And I've also requested documentation regarding check number 47790, Wilson for accounting services. What do we pay Larry Wilson for accounting services for?
Well, we have done that one time so far for a question that we had, an accounting question that we had. We're actually not supposed to be using the auditors for accounting questions. And so this is the first time in my tenure here that we actually have had an accounting question that we thought we should seek advice from a CPA on. And that's what we did.
Okay, so that was really consulting.
Yeah, consulting, I
You
guess
know,
you could
bringing
call it.
that up, Ron, we really should maybe go out for an RFP for a general accountant for the township, because the auditors have told us, because they do our auditing, they are not going to act as our accountant.
Sure.
And,
No,
right.
I
You know,
mean,
when
that-
you're dealing with P&Ls, you're dealing with financial statements, there are a lot of questions.
that's very
So-
reasonable. And, I think we've been talking about that process for everybody from, planning services to now financial services.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Mhm. And then I have questions on 47791. 47794. 47795. Each have been requested from the clerk's office, along with 47852 and 47853. All these expenses appear to be over the $1,000 clearance level talked about in our financial policy. So to issue a purchase order for those amounts would have to require a second signature. I don't recall signing a purchase order for them. So I'll be voting no on this bills for approval and hence the consent calendar.
So just to let you know, I'm happy for you, and I've sent you an email. We've corresponded via email about how you can get copies of these checks, which I'm more than happy to pull them out and you can make your copies. Some of these are contract things that were approved by the board. So they're not all things that were just approved by me on a purchase order. But until you have the documentation, you aren't going to be able to satisfy yourself about that. So.
Yeah, and that's why I
Yeah.
requested it so early before this board meeting.
Well,
so
you
I could-
requested it on Thursday.
So I could vote properly.
I responded to you on Friday, and so far you have not told me when you want to do it.
Typically, I would not copy your files, but I'll be happy to do that.
Well, less and less we are willing to stand at the copy machine So that takes up our time. So we're happy to give you a few checks at a time. You can make the copies, return the
Excellent.
checks to us. So far, I don't think I haven't looked on my email this morning, but so far you have not named a specific date and time that you want to do that. Also, this week, I don't have a deputy, so I have very limited hours this week. And as you know, I don't make myself available to the public typically on Fridays. So Fridays is not a day that I have set office hours. Your request came in on Thursday of last week. So I'm happy to have you whenever you're ready to do it. I'll make myself available consistent with my office hours.
Gotcha. Any other questions?
Yeah,
on the
I
consent
do.
calendar?
Just while we're talking about this, so the signature authority is $1,000 for, I assume that's you, Ardella, and Cheryl?
No, the clerk's office issues purchase orders and my signing authority is up to $1,000.
Okay, I'm just trying to get clarity.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah,
so,
fair question.
and
Although these days $1,000 doesn't buy much.
yeah, like it's a different comment, but I mean, other than one, these are pretty significant, over 1,000.
Yeah, and for instance, okay, so I don't remember all the things now, but Don Way, that's more than one purchase order. Let me see what another one was here. Larry Wilson, that's within my signing authority. Law and Order, that's mostly contract, and I believe one PO. So we pay Law and Order pursuant to a contract. So he bills every 2 weeks. So he just did cleanups. He also cut and took down our fallen trees over the winter at the campground. So those are taken care of before the parks open. That was not over $1,000. And it says plus mowing on 5/9. So the mowing can be a couple grand. Mowing and cleanups can be a couple grand.
But that's contracted.
It's contract labor. That is not, when we have a contract, we don't also issue a PO. Yeah. What was another one that was on here? The municipal underwriters, that's the insurance premium, as you saw in the board packet. We pay that automatically, so we make sure we don't have any lapses in premium. We've never had that brought to the board until this packet. We have never had that brought to the board to approve that payment in 10 years. What else was on here? The JAR contractors, that's contract on the playground, board approved. So some of this stuff is board approved. It doesn't mean that I issued a PO for all this stuff. No, some of it is contract and some of it is board approved.
So speaking of the last one, what part was the entrance to additional, what's the rest of that?
Gravel
Explanation.
grade entrance to additional parking and grade Park Road was part of that amount that we paid Steve. Yes, you said we had to start paying for grading of Park Road. And we had the entrance to the additional parking fixed, which is a gravel incline, and that washes out. That had to be fixed before the park opened, and the road needed to be graded before the park opened. And on Memorial Day, we didn't get it graded before May 6th, free camping weekend. But I tried to get out of the road commission what date they were going to grade, and they would not give me a specific date. So I got Steve Jar to grade it while he was out there.
So this was the existing additional parking, not the proposed new.
Oh, no,
parking.
no, no.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any
That's
proposed new parking yet. It's that little grassy area off to the right before you get
Understood.
to the ranger station.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions on consent calendar? Roll call when ready.
Velmuth,
Knew you were gonna do that. Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Pop,
No.
One,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
That moves us into unfinished business number 1, review bids, award contract, ECNI Lawsuit Road Trail. So just out of courtesy, I see we have a vendor in the audience. Would the board like to change the agenda around a little bit to accommodate new business number 9? I pray Park electronic door locks. So that gentleman wouldn't be here until 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I would be fine with that.
I'm okay with that.
Dylan?
Well, I have a treasurer's meeting today at 12:30. So I'll be leaving at 12, which is that 3-hour mark.
Okay.
So I guess I don't care, but understand I'm not going to be here for the majority of your meeting. It's just taking way too long to get through stuff that shouldn't take this long.
Sure.
I'm fine with moving that up.
Okay. So let's depart from our agenda, our normally scheduled agenda, and go to new business number 9 in the agenda, which would be packet page, and anybody who gets there first, shout out. Looks like 228. I'll make a motion as written on page 228. Motion to approve the installation of electronic door locks by Avion Technology Group on the High Prairie Park Pavilion restroom doors at a cost of $3,275.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Mark, if you want to come up in case the board has any questions. This is Mark Garrett from Anavon.
Hi, Mark.
Good to meet you.
Just a couple quick questions, just so I understand the use of this. I'm reading through your cut sheets and talking about, there's 150 timed lock and lock schedules. And so that means a Monday could be programmed different than a Tuesday, than
Yes.
a Wednesday. So depending on the day of the week, we could alter those schedules
Correct.
to those.
Mhm.
Okay. And then how is the code inputted into the device? Is that manual on-site, or is there a remote connection of some Bluetooth or some Wi-Fi, or it has to be physically changed at the keypad?
Yeah, it'd be at the keypad and you'd have some kind of device with you to do that, a tablet or laptop.
Okay. And is that something that your company's providing, or you're training, or we have a manual that our folks know how to do that?
Yeah, we do all the training on it so that anything that would need to be done, you'd be aware of and certainly be available for, any help or assistance, going forward if, something else was being explored, another feature of it or something. Yeah.
And so what's our fail safe? So it's late in the season, got a disgruntled employee, knows how to change it, goes in and decides to punch in one last gift to us of a code that he or she are the only one that knows. Is there a backdoor, a universal code to override any of that if for some reason we had to reset it?
because somebody else touched it that punched some numbers in that known only to them.
Yeah, there, you do have, you'd have an audit trail that you'd be able to look at to see exactly who.
Explain that to me, please.
Simply being able to track entries and exits to the restrooms. But as far as your first question,
I'm not worried about tracking the number of, that might be interesting at some point.
Just
But
trying to
what I'm
recognize a
trying to say,
person.
saying that if the code's supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and somebody changes it to 8, 2, 6, 3, and thinking that they're funny, and then somebody whoever's trying to use the code to go in can't get in because it's been changed now.
Isn't there a lock? Isn't there a key also?
There is a key.
Yeah, there's a
Okay,
key.
okay, but that's still, how then do we reset that keypad if that number's been
With the
altered?
key. You would get in with the key.
I understand that. So
Right.
then how do you get in with the key, but then how do you still? Unless
You can override the code with the key.
Okay, and that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to understand it.
Right.
Like a password, to change a password, you gotta, on the internet, you gotta enter in your current password to change a new one. And so I'm trying to understand, to change a code, you have to punch in the existing code and then put in a new code to change it.
Well, if with the key, you'd be able to get in, you'd be getting around that. So the key may not be something that everybody has.
Okay.
Would just be a one key, for example, that would exist to get in an instance like that. Once you're in, then through the back of the mechanism, the back of the lock, it's an easy disassembly to get in there, kind of connects to your laptop or tablet with a USB, and like a standard, like a cell phone charging cable
Yeah.
would look like, and you plug into it, make your changes, and
So you can change the code from there.
yeah.
Okay.
But it would be on site. So this particular solution is, more on the basic level of what the technology could actually do. So with that, it does require some, on-site
Sure. And
manipulation.
what piece of equipment is needed to connect? Tablet, a laptop, a phone?
Tablet, laptop, something you'd be able to plug in a cord to.
Something we have.
Many.
It comes with it.
Many
Oh,
of
comes
these
with it.
actually have a programmer. It is a third device. How many of these have you sold?
We've done, I would say, in the hundreds of,
Okay.
not necessarily this one.
The ones I'm
Honestly,
familiar with of this caliber, they have a third-party programmer. I shouldn't say a third party, a third piece. So you have your lock, your cable, and then a handheld programmer that your PC dumps to. And that handheld programmer is where the program for this lock is actually residing, because I don't think you get any CD with this lock or anything of that nature. We don't have any software
Right.
here. So a PC won't just
So is it like
recognize the lock.
self-recognizing when you plug into it? And
Uh,
that basically you're using this as a keyboard.
Yes, and the cord itself, that you would connect to your tablet or laptop, is just housed in the lock itself. So as you, and it can be removed, but there's space in there for it to just stay right in there.
Reside in there.
Yeah, and but yeah, as far as recognizing whatever device you're plugging it into, it's going to just automatically allow your laptop to connect to the lock itself so that you can make whatever changes you want to make.
And the reason, and actually, if we would change the code on it, that would be a physical thing that you would do over there.
Yeah.
At the site, you'd have, somebody would decide, okay, we need to change the code on it. And like from year to year, you probably wouldn't use the same one from year to year, although we have on the south pavilion door where we have the access to like the chalk and the other pitching machine and stuff like that. There's a deadbolt there, and then we put a keypad lock on that a few years ago because the coaches wanted to be able to store equipment in there when they weren't, coaching their team. So we have had them sign to get the code for that. And so that has to be physically changed as well to change the code. But the reason we haven't gone with any type of wireless access to it is because that is way more expensive.
Sure.
And we don't have the wireless, we don't have internet over there. We investigated, but it was going to be, here again, it's expensive, but we actually could feed an internet connection off of the fire station, the internet at the fire station that the township pays for, and get wireless access over there, but it was going to require a bunch of going through some walls with some wiring, and it was just going to get very complicated.
Yeah, I'm not, my concerns are not that there's, we're
Right.
gonna be changing these codes much. It's just,
Yeah.
it's a piece of equipment and, I'm not interested in any citizens' concerns that the bathrooms haven't been open for 2 months and we can't figure out. because
Oh,
the
right.
equipment-
Yeah,
We
oh,
don't
yeah,
have a
no,
way
no.
to solve that. So
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with what the redundancies are to make sure this thing stays operational for
Mhm.
the duration.
Yeah, once you set it up, it's set up, it'll stay that way until a change needs to be made. Simple to do. Definitely not rocket science, getting in there and just making your changes if necessary, and, yeah,
How was
it's
it
gonna be
powered?
easy. It's, battery powered,
How often do you have to change the battery?
about once a year. So it'd be good, something like this would be good to just have on, some kind of automatic schedule that comes up and reminds you. But it's weatherproof, of course, and these locks are proven. I mean, these would have been, early, early devices compared to what, like Cheryl was talking about, and some of the, the remote capabilities. If you're connecting similar locks to a Wi-Fi network or internet.
My only comment is, and I apologize, this is my industry, right? So I have access to this product for $579 each lock.
Yeah,
But
that's real.
Yeah. I'm not gonna install them. So.
And they'll set them up and train. All of that is a value. Troubleshoot.
So there's a motion made and seconded. There has been discussion. Is there further discussion?
Just curious, Cheryl, why you didn't get a couple more quotes, that's all, just to see if he was in the ballpark or not, considering there's a difference between what Ron has and he has, but okay.
Well, Ron's probably getting a wholesale price. And so we're not getting a wholesale price through this vendor. I didn't get a couple more quotes because it's not required. It's less than $5,000. And I did interview this company, and they came out here. Who was your other gentleman that came out?
Mike Madsen, he's
Mike.
he's the owner.
He's the
Yeah.
owner. Yes, the owner, and Mark came out. I don't know when this was, last fall or something like that.
Mhm.
And we discussed all this stuff, and I felt confident in there. I've also know some of the other things that they do, which are much more complicated than they do surveillance systems. And they also gave us a quote on surveillance system at the boat launch. That's not in our budget this year, but so I'm confident in their capabilities.
And this price also includes installation and training.
Mhm. It'll be a completely turnkey project.
I guess I do have one question, come to think of it. So we have one of the doors over there, I think it's a south door, that does not always latch. It gets locked, by a ranger, but you have to make sure that door is shut all the way. It will latch without locking. And so maybe that's an issue that we need to put a stronger closer on that or something. We
I
may
think the
have to do
problem's
that
just.
to make sure the door closes, you know,
Is it a problem with the door or the latch?
I don't know.
Okay, because if it's a problem with the door and it's, warped or something's changed there to keep it from just smoothly closing,
Right,
that's one thing, but,
right.
a lot of the, the hardware itself will change. And that's what's, if it is something to do with the latch, that'll solve itself just with the installation,
Okay,
with the update.
okay.
Mhm.
Good deal. Thank you.
But if it's not, the process of locking the door will be defeated. And so we may be looking at a door closer or something like that.
Well, and when I got here, there weren't even door closers on those
Right.
doors. And they were constantly standing wide open when you would drive by there. So we put closers on them a few years ago. And the closer has an adjustment to it.
It
So
does.
maybe that one just needs to be
It does.
adjusted to have a little more force to the closure. I think we can solve it.
Yeah, and the door definitely needs to be able to.
Needs
swing
to be
shut.
working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Any other questions? Roll call when ready.
Goss,
Yes.
Vamus,
No.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Thank you. I can assure you, it's going to be a great job. You'll love it. And we've done.
Recorded.
Yeah, we've done a ton of these things and certainly interlocks that have, some real depth and complexity. Our techs know exactly what to do. So this will be a simple project and you'll be just fine. It's going to do what you want it to do. It's going to lock that door
Yeah.
so that you don't have to go over there and lock it every night.
Timeline, when do you think you'll have these in for us?
I would say we'd be looking at into next month.
July 31st?
If that's fair, yeah. I know our schedule has really gotten a little bit steep lately, so roughly about 30 days out. So, but if there is a timeline that, that you'd like us to follow, I can take that back and certainly, there are changes in our schedule that kind of just happen like that.
And I'll be happy to work with you on, getting, the access over there. And I'd like to do it when there's, not a lot of people at the park and stuff like that. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'd be doing it during the day.
Mhm.
Most of the activity over there is during the evening. So I'm happy to work with you on that. Can you give me a call and let me know what your first availability is to do that?
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Before 4th of
welcome.
July would be great.
Before 4th of July.
Would be great.
It's quick, but I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
You're
Matt.
welcome.
Mark, yes.
Cheryl, I'll catch up with you later and with details.
Tomorrow would be better.
Sure.
Yep.
All
My
right.
time's pretty booked today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
So I think that brings us back to unfinished business number 1, which is on electronic packet page number 79. At least that's where it begins.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
Motion to award bid to Grand Traverse Conservation District for $34,600.
and I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
34,600.
Correct.
Anybody want to go first?
Got a couple thoughts.
Steve was here. You are here, Steve. Yeah. Steve Largent is here from the
Okay,
Grand Traverse
great.
Conservation District.
Okay. Well, perfect. Because the bid packet didn't have any indication in there that we had put a stipulation that all work was to be completed by September 30th, 2022. And out of the 7 people that had submitted bid packages, 5 had answered affirmatively that yes, that they could. 1 was a no, and then Grand Traverse Conservation District didn't. So I don't know if that's still an option in terms of, is that something that is?
Yes, it is. We just assumed that's when it would be done, so we didn't put it in there, but yes.
Okay.
By the end of September.
And then the other requirement was the proof of liability insurance.
Yes, not a
spec.
problem. Yeah, we do that automatically with all the townships we work with.
And added, and then the certification of not an Iran linked business.
Right.
So, sure, that's something you can provide.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so those were 3 boxes that I had incomplete. But then moving past that and saying that they're qualified there, I'm struggling a little bit, and I'm here to hear certainly your side of it, because I'm sure your position might be different, but with all the wildfires going on, I mean, not just out west, but certainly in just in Michigan, we're kind of in this drought situation. I've been doing some homework trying to understand. Logs are logs, and I don't have any issue with leaving those and making a part of the terrain and for the habitat. I'm starting to develop some concerns over debris piles of brush that would not be chipped. Letting those piles, and my concern is that they dry out and that becomes almost a fireplace. It becomes a large tinder box. Obviously, in the trails, to have to be hit by lightning unless there was somebody doing something nefarious, versus an alternative. And because one of the other bids that came in was that they would cut, but their price, they had an alternative price for chipping and spreading. And intuitively, it says to me that a brush pile, while be it having some nature wildlife advantages, could be an issue or a higher risk of catching on fire versus spread chips. Even if the chips are an inch or 2 thick and they're spread out, at least my reading is that those are going to hold moisture a little bit longer. And that's what I'm kind of debating against. I'm just trying to say, okay, we've got we've got 330 acres over there, and Chief's got a 400-gallon brush truck. And so if something were to happen in that area, how bad could that be? And I'm trying to balance those 2 items off. So share with me what.
Totally understand.
Because I'm sure that's.
Yeah, totally understand. I am a wildlife biologist by training, and that brush will provide, valuable diversity of habitat for some of your, smaller critters, mammals, amphibians. And the other thing is you would have to chip more than just those trees. There was so much down from that tornado or straight line winds that went through there. What little bit we would be doing along that trail as far as chipping would just be a drop in the bucket. You have everything else, that is still down from that tornado that would provide that same risk. And so the other thing by chipping that and spreading that, you're going to create such a volume of chips that what you spread it on, it will most likely kill. In other words, your native vegetation, unless you put it so thin that vegetation is allowed to come up through it. But if you make piles or you spread it out, 3-4 inches thick, you're going to kill the native vegetation that it's spread on, in my opinion.
Could you move the wood chips? Like, could you put them all in a big pile? Could you move them somewhere else? Cheryl, didn't they talk about last night needing wood chips or something? Or
It'd be a mountain. It'd be a mountain.
But that is how.
What?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. What did you say?
Well, no, please finish up. Thank you.
Well, Cheryl said she needed wood chips last night, so I was just curious. Maybe she could get some from here. Just a thought.
It's not to say that determining what volume of wood chips that you would need, that we could rent a chipper and create, some, especially up by the trailhead, like I said in my proposal, that, chipping could, be negotiated. I have a feeling we're going to be underneath, and that motion that was made, Ardella, I think you made the motion, that is a not to exceed. And so you might want to put that in your motion, that it's not 34.6, it's not to exceed 34.6. So if this would come in at, let's say, 22 or 25, whatever, I don't know. But we wanted to make sure that we covered was fair for us and fair for the township.
Cheryl, to piggyback on Heidi's, was that for the playground area at Whitewater Township Park that you?
Yeah,
mentioned
it's
the
under
other-
consideration.
mentioned The other day that. about
It is
wood
under
chips?
consideration, yeah.
Okay,
For wood chips.
I just want to understand.
But we don't really have any way to haul them, so we would be looking for ones that would be delivered.
Yeah, okay, but that was the need that was mentioned.
And that's the other thing, is that trail is so narrow that you would have to take it out in small loads. And so it really is not a feasible alternative in my mind
Yeah.
to
Hold
do a
on.
large scale chipping.
So
You want to amend your motion? Oh, go ahead, Ron.
my,
Yeah, I will.
my concern with this discussion is that we didn't bid it to specs. And so if there is a better idea, everyone who had a question on the bid called, and I told them, bid it the way it's written. If you have an alternate, then suggest the alternate. And so I did not receive any calls from you.
It's good, I did talk.
We spoke about other things, but if we did talk and we talked about an alternative, where is your bid according to the RFP?
We are not going to bid on that. This is our bid. And if it's going to involve chipping, then we cannot accommodate that.
Okay. So
large scale chipping, like in
It
large
says
scale,
here,
yeah,
all
yeah.
cut logs will be cleared from 12-inch drill surface, and it says chipping not included, but brush removal or limited chipping negotiable.
Yes,
Okay.
and we've done the same storm went across Power Island. We worked with Grand Traverse County Parks and Rec and went out and cleared those trails. No chipping was included there. And we also, for East Bay Township, Killingsworth Park had several trees down from that blow down event, and there was no chipping there either.
And as a second point of concern, didn't we request 15 feet from the center line of the trail? I mean, whether or not we get 1 foot or 6 inches, right? But we're just trying to make sure that people bid what we asked to bid for.
Well,
If not,
I think.
how do we as a board move beyond that question? I don't think we can not address it.
Your cleanup, the bid spec was 15 feet.
What paragraph is that?
It was on the partial,
Oh,
Parsh's
oh,
proposal.
that's right, that's right.
That the second to last page, there were,
Yep. So this would be on packet page 87.
But Steve, regardless, you did find and base your bid on addressing all of the trees that were on the partial bid. You just changed, you just are not able to do the work as it was bid, as it was requested to be done. You have this alternate method of doing the cleanup, and that's reflected in your price. You're still going to address all the trees.
Correct.
Every single tree on the list.
Yes, correct.
And the cleanup, just alternate instead of chipping.
Correct. We'll move, all the brush and if it's 15 feet, then, that's only a foot and a half each way. So the
Because
main
that's-
thing is the chipping. We feel that the damage that it will, the amount of labor, the damage from the equipment that's going to have to get in there, and also the, potential effects of the chips on native vegetation. It is, we can't support chipping.
And I wish Josh Truss was here, because I think his bid, he made a statement when he dropped it off that his bid also was not, the price also was not exactly as, did not contemplate doing it exactly as it was bid.
Was
For
that
some
in
of the
regards
same
to
reasons. I'm
Same
sorry.
reasons. the
For some of
chipping?
the same reasons. I don't remember exactly what he said now.
He wasn't gonna haul the chips out as the RFQ requires.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna haul them out.
He was gonna blow them in place.
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
okay, that was it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have a little bit of a concern. I totally understand some of these entities providing an alternate bid, an alternate price for a change of the scope. But I just wonder, did you talk to all the other ones? I mean, to me, if we are wanting to change the scope and allow a different scope, all of the contractors should be able to submit a bid price based on that change. Some of them may, some of them kind of went ahead and did it, but others didn't. So, I mean,
Are you talking about a
Anyone
breakout?
that called,
yeah,
I explained to them, bid it as written,
yeah,
and that is to chip and to haul out. That was
Yeah.
the biggest question.
yeah. okay.
Why are we hauling out the chips? Why aren't we just blowing them on the trail? Steve said that's illegal because that's considered fill, but not all the trails.
In the wetland, correct.
It's considered fill in the wetland, which is
Yeah.
illegal.
Yes, we
Yeah.
run into that in many places.
Yeah,
Chips are fill.
And the other vendors could have been here too. To answer
that's true.
questions.
Yeah, that's true.
And so to finish addressing your concern, Cheryl, anybody who had questions, I answered it the same way. Bid it per spec. And if you have an alternate that the board wishes to consider, fine.
I see, okay, all right,
But
that's
if,
fair.
if you didn't bid it the way we asked, I don't know that we should even allow the bid, unfortunately.
And there's seven bids. The only one that didn't bid it per spec is the conservation. And because.
And landscape, Precision didn't do it either because he wasn't gonna haul out the chips.
Where is that? Okay.
I believe in the packet, it also says the township as a disclaimer has the right to accept or refuse all bids.
Yeah, that was in the ad.
Yeah.
But we still have to have a discussion. You understand the process, I hope. Okay, so if we don't discuss it and come up with facts of why we didn't go according to our request, so let's see, Precision is on page 116.
Can I ask Steve another question?
Yeah. of
How
course.
many men do you believe it will take to, how many people have you would you be assigning to this if you got the bid?
We have a crew of 4, but it would not be 4, 100% of the time. It could be 3. We also are planning and built in some time with Youth Works, getting a
okay.
youth work crew in there. So we'll
Okay.
have maybe a crew of 8, 10, people in there
days.
some days, yes.
Yeah.
And so what we're looking at doing is going in and cutting the down stuff first, and
Yeah.
then coming back and doing the hazard leaning trees after that.
I see. And then what kind of equipment will you be taking in there?
Primarily just chainsaws, and we do have a gas-powered rope winch. It's a capstan winch that we will then, that's what we will pull the
Winch.
trees down.
Yeah.
The leaners and anything that's
Okay.
in the trail or get it away from trail, we'll use that winch.
So you're gonna walk in or you're gonna drive trucks in?
Where we can drive in, we will drive in.
Yeah.
Where it's too soft, we will not.
Yeah.
We
With
will-
pickup trucks, I'm,
Yes, pickup
I'm
trucks, yeah,
assuming.
yeah, nothing bigger than a pickup.
okay, yeah. Yeah, I do know when it was cleaned up in 2015, there was bigger equipment in there. But then that equipment wasn't allowed to go certain places
Correct.
where it was soft,
Yeah.
as you say.
But they cleaned up the trail real nice after that.
Oh, yeah, they cleaned up the trail.
Yeah, they did a
They
great
just
job.
weren't able to take equipment
Correct.
all the way to the, the trail to the water.
Hmm.
They weren't able to take equipment down there, and that's why that's really not open very well.
So Precision Landscape, their variant is on packet page 123. And so it says chip and remove all, oak brush only, all other in place.
123,
Yeah.
123 is a
about
partial
those quotes.
page.
Well, that was our concern. That's why we had partial go through, right? But the reality is to, again, a biologist would be better off answering this than I. But I understand you need leaves on the tree to understand that you have oak wilt present.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Yeah, oak wilt is a concern through about middle of July, beginning of August. And then the picnic beetle, which is what the carrier of that fungus, is dormant. It's not dormant, but into a next phase of its life cycle.
There's very little oak in there.
Right, correct.
Yeah. 4 or 5 or something.
One other concern would be going over, of chipping is going over the property line, because it's such a narrow easement on Lossy Trail that if you chip everything and keep it within, it's going to be almost impossible. You're going to have to blow it onto the adjoining properties, owner's property, I would guess.
Yeah.
Because those things will blow 30 to 40 feet and you don't have that size of easement.
It's 66 feet.
So 33 feet from the center.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like the road.
Was that part of the thought process when putting together the specs?
Easy way to remember.
That hauling on chips out for those reasons, where that was part of it, or was it just kind of unintended? That's what the design was, just happened to design out that way.
so the drain commissioner and I were back there looking at the earthen dam that's back there. And both he and I were amazed at the amount of debris that was left over from our 2015 cleanup.
Oh, yeah.
And we're getting a fair amount of fire load out there. And so that was an ancillary concern. My first concern was that we didn't have oak wilt and that we didn't harm the long-eared bat, whatever that thing is. It was important in 2015, but apparently it's
Oh,
not
no, he
important
disappeared. He
anymore.
hasn't been back yet.
So we were just trying to cover our bases
Right,
from an
he was there.
environmental point of view
I don't
to do something responsible, right?
But
Because
that's
I'm not a
another thing.
biologist.
It's a
None of us
state
are. We don't
regulated
know
animal, so
the
your
things we
neighbors
should be
can't
looking
do
at. So that's where Partial came in and advised us on things like this.
Okay.
So if, you know, I do think chips are better than brush piles for fire concerns. Logs, as you stated, Don, are logs.
But if you're looking at the spirit of the specs, then Grand Traverse doesn't meet those, and neither does Precision Landscape. And that then puts it to the next bidder, which was Tree Works, who proposed an alternative, but bid it per the spec, but included a choice, which to me is an ancillary. That's an add-on. They put the package together based on the specs that are contained in the package. So.
Yeah. And so Tree Works price is on page 83. Back at page 83.
That price of 63,000 would be the lowest of the remaining 5.
Yep. And they did, as you indicate, complete the bid as indicated. And I think this was one of the callers.
So Steve, what would have been chipped per the bid, what's going to happen to if it's not chipped?
It will
Left in
remain to
place?
break down, naturally break down and
Okay.
provide that habitat component.
Right,
Because
yeah.
there's really no other structures as far as, you know, houses or anything that's pretty remote back
Yeah,
in there. And like I said, there's so much brush down from that event that
Yeah.
it's just going to be a small percentage of what's there.
I mean, trying to clean up this property from all the 2015 and 21 storm damage would be enormously costly.
Yes, it would. And I think damaging to the, you know, to the environment there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
As far as the bat, that's for standing trees. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what we understand.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of choices here. We have at least one bidder that filled out everything according to our request. And then we have a couple of other bids that didn't. And so how does the board want to move forward around that question? In other words, if I'm a bidder and I bid it according to spec, I assume everybody else is going to do the same thing.
But I think, Ron, like I said before, they had an opportunity to come and they could give us alternatives here for changing their bid. When it comes to how much money we have spent in the past, and now we're looking at spending, cleaning up these trails, I think fiscally responsible is more important than we decide to change the bid here at the board. And this money is coming out of general fund because it's out of rec, not out of park. And we have cut some of the capital expenditures we had planned to do for our parks because we had to spend this extra money.
Right.
So I look at it that way. When it comes to removing the brush or chipping, I would tend to go with an expert such as Conservation District on what they feel is best for the environment. They would know. They're giving us a remarkable deal. And that's the reason why that I put my motion forward, because I feel it's the best use of the township's money in general. And it's in their name, Conservation District. Most of those areas down there are wetlands. I'm not sure how much wildfire stuff we have to worry about down in the wetlands. If this was in a field,
Which a
or
lot of it
dry-
is.
Dry woods,
Which a lot of it is.
maybe
maybe. we'd
Along.
have to- Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, no. I didn't mean to
Maybe
cut you
we'd
off.
have to consider that more, but much of this is in wetlands. So,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying in the wetlands. And I also hear also that it's overrun right now with debris. Because there has been inaction on it. And so are we better off as a board trying to go in and clean out? Doesn't completely eliminate it or clean it out, but if we have an overabundance of debris today, we know that there's more likely to happen. It does. It's nature. And so do we kind of reset this trail and say, okay, let's cut this stuff down. Let's haul out the debris. And that gives us a little bit more breathing room over time, that if something does happen, then maybe there's less of an urgency to clean it up because it may be part of something different. But it seems to me that it's like Legos, if we keep stacking, if we just keep doing things to stack more stuff on more stuff on more stuff, at what point does it get choked down? Because it's gonna naturally break down, but it's not gonna break down that fast. So are we better off just coming in and doing a flushing, so to speak, and pulling out trees and debris, chips and the whole bit?
well, I can see your point there, Don. I guess I look at it this way, that if we want to go in and clean it out, it's going to cost us a lot more. I mean, if you're going to do the job, do it right. It's going to cost us a lot more than what these much higher bids is what it's going to cost us. So maybe what we do today is we decide to get the trails open, and then we look for some grants to go back in and clean out that brush at a different time. We can start looking now, because this work is not going to be done until September. We're already going to be through the fire season by the time we get to this.
Of course, fire season comes around every year.
Sure does.
And I did reach out to Steve Cameron, DNR Wildland Fire. And I believe his overall opinion from a fire only perspective is that chips would provide a better fire resistiveness than a brush pile.
You have opinion on that?
Yes, I mean, that's exactly true, is that
Okay,
chips
just
will,
checking.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
checking.
no, chips will provide a less, of a fire danger. But again, the amount of trees down in there outside of the work area, the work zone, it's such a small percentage of those down trees in there that, and I understand, totally respect Steve. I know Steve, he's a good friend, so, yeah. But from a, and again, to pull those trees pull those tops out of there, you're gonna be causing damage to residual trees that right now, if all you do is go in, open up that trail, get that material aside. And so that if there was a fire back in there, they could go in with, some emergency vehicles, because right now you cannot, get in there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Can't even
But
get in there.
again, the number of trees that are down, this is just a fraction of that.
And that's certainly, when I was thinking about fire hazard and kind of to Don's point, adding fuel to the fire, no pun intended. I didn't think about what you had said. When the drain commissioner and I were back there, we had a visual view of more than 15 foot either side of the trail, right?
Right.
We had this awestruck of the amount of damage that was out there. And again, a lot of that's still from 2015. The last concern that I have about these items is, what do we do with the stumps that have turned vertical? So if you can imagine a tree that gets exposed to too much wind, they bring their root ball with them. And so I don't think I would be exaggerating that I've seen a couple of root balls out there exceeding 10 feet tall. And so I'm thinking that we cut the tree off a bit, and the natural course of the root ball, I think, is want to lay back down. But what if it doesn't? What's the plan to deal with that?
Those will probably stay vertical. I would be surprised if they, recede maybe a third, but they are not going to go back into their original position. And again, there's places on Power Island, there's places all over like that in nature, from, tornadoes and what have you. So I don't see that as being something that's a hazard at all.
But
Critters love it.
those generally still have the tree attached.
We would, detach the tree and making sure it's down for those, if they're marked.
It's like critters love it. They make homes in them. It's good for the habitat, the wildlife. And it, people walking the trails, they love to see that stuff. It's scenic.
So the reasons why we would vary from our RFQ are,
The last sentence, the Whitewater Township Board reserves the right to reject any or all bids.
and so I heard Della say it was the most effective use of public funds.
That's what I said. I would also like to amend my motion to change from 34,600 to not to exceed 34,600.
Okay,
I'll second it.
let's see. I think I seconded
Oh,
for
did you?
discussion. Yeah.
Yes.
I apologize, Heidi, to
That's
take your
okay.
thunder.
No big deal.
But I will resecond that motion. So we have a better use of public funds.
Stays within the budget.
Stays within the budget.
I think the testimony given today by the Grand Traverse Conservation District it makes it so that, for me anyway, that the not chipping, but stacking is an acceptable alternative. For me anyway.
Potential lower impact to the ground because there'd be less equipment needed. Is that kind of the idea? Because I don't think they're gonna stack anything, right?
No, they're
gonna clear.
They're gonna pile and clear.
Yeah, they're just gonna pull them off the trail and, before we had them stacked up and that causes its own problems. So we stayed away from that this time, but not having equipment down the trail
It
would
keeps the trail
probably-
from getting tore up.
would probably lower the impact, right?
Yep.
Mhm. Okay. Is that enough, or do we need one more item as
Binding.
finding of fact? That's 4.
I think it's.
Oh, Steve has something to say.
Maintains habitat and is less impact than the native habitat that's in the area.
Okay.
Okay, so how was what you said? Because I heard what Della said, but then you said potential lower impact of the trail because of less equipment needed. So really, what was yours?
Basically, Cheryl, I don't see the hazard of not chipping.
Okay,
I don't see the hazard of not chipping, especially if we as a board would agree to look for grants to go in to remove that on a low impact basis and maybe do chipping after. Get a grant to do it instead of paying it out of general fund. There's a lot of grants out there for that stuff right now. And I also like the idea that you are using young people, get them involved in the conservation district, teaching them, learning them, bringing them into this type of an industry where there's really not a lot of interest by a lot of young people. So I like that idea.
Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Velmuth,
Yes.
Pop.
Yes. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. And we'll work closely with Partial and make sure we do a good job for you folks. Thank you.
Steve, can you also get us your, and before you do anything out there, can you also get us your insurance
Yes.
thing in that Iran document?
Yeah, we'll sit down and fill out that contract and make sure that it's acceptable on both ends, and then we'll
Okay.
get you
Right.
the insurance. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Unfinished business number 2 already. I'll make a motion to forward proposed electronic meeting accommodation policy to legal for review.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
I have some comments.
Yeah. Anything highlighted on page 137? $145. $148. $150. That's it. Didn't fall exactly to my request, what the board requested of me from the last meeting. So those were the areas that I varied from. If you have
Your question on where to actually put it in the table of contents?
Yep.
I believe goes under 2.0.
You think
That-
2.0?
That's my vote.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
Okay with that too.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so that's like the first question. Cheryl, what were your questions?
My first comment is on page 144. And let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 7th line down. I believe I stated this before, but I'll state it again. I'm not going to be making any determinations, and so township clerk must be removed from that line. From township clerk will determine. That's my first issue.
Well, you have to read whatever they're providing you, right? So you're not making any determination about the employee's qualification. You're just merely, by your acceptance of it, then you are saying that, yep, the physician signed it. That's really all you're doing here, is making sure that the document provided has been executed by the attending physician. You're not going to check the physician's credentials. Otherwise, we could just hand in a blank envelope and say, my submittal's in here. So
Well, it says the township clerk will determine whether an individual's attending physician report authenticates accommodation under ADA is necessary, which that sentence doesn't quite make sense. And I'm just saying someone else can do it. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
Go ahead, put somebody else in there.
So
That's all I'm saying.
that's fine.
Yeah.
So we want to change.
I don't
township-
want there to be any, because I think that's kind of ambiguous, to tell you the truth. I believe my only role will be to place it in a personnel policy after it's reviewed by someone else.
I mean, in a folder.
Yeah, well, yeah, personnel policy, I meant personnel folder. Yes, I'm sorry for the misspeak. So
So we'll change that to supervisor rather than clerk.
sure.
I'm okay with that.
And then we'll probably have to say that the supervisor will provide it to the clerk for filing in
Filing.
the employee file.
Filing, sure. Top of page 145. Also, there's a mention of township clerk. And that should be removed.
Cheryl, could I ask you just 1 second to hold that? Could we go back to that first line where we struck change township clerk to supervisor?
Yeah.
Just because I want to stay on that point, because
Yeah.
then it doesn't really flow then. Because you know,
Yeah.
who do you appeal to if it's denied?
Yeah, and so actually, I guess I didn't read this. Okay, so it says, if an accommodation request is denied by the township clerk. So I don't understand that I'm going to be approving or denying accommodation requests. That's the making a determination based on what the physician provides. So that's the role I will not accept, is making the determination whether the accommodation request should be approved or denied.
Might I suggest hearing a couple different things. I'm hearing, I think, spirit of what you're trying to accomplish. And to your point, the words matter. So if maybe are we struggling with this because the definition of authentication that is submitted, is it simply a checklist that these documents have come in 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all signed and properly executed? And there isn't a determination at that point. The person has submitted everything per the policy. So the flag is, I've checked all the boxes. That's all I need to do. And and I'm just going back to if the township clerk said, no, you're missing this one item, I'm not going to approve that. The appeal process goes to the supervisor going, either pardon me?
You're missing a count.
You're something that you submitted a copy and it's not an original, that needs to be cleaned up in order. We're not making a determination whether you're qualified. The doctor has done that. So is it possibly just a wordsmithing problem that we're not defining authentication in terms of what that role is? Because if that's what it is, then I think if you clean that up, then Cheryl, would you still then have an objection to say, you're just checking the boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fine, I've got it, file it. But 1, 2, 3, no, I'm not approving it. And then that person could go to the supervisor and say, I don't have these two, but I really need to do this. And then that becomes.
For example, we often hear about must be a completed application or a complete application. Maybe that's what we wordsmith rather than authenticate, say a complete application.
And list what those items are. I would just define those as part of that same, Webster's definition of what we're trying to do with that.
Well, then I think you're gonna have to put the, what are the 1, 2, 3 gonna be? What are they gonna be?
I think we have.
I think that needs to be spelled out. Absolutely.
I agree. The documents are here. I'm saying
Yeah.
list them.
Yeah.
A completed package consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, and what those.
Well, I mean,
Very
okay,
much like
so,
what we already do with
so,
land use permits. Here's a list.
Okay.
It's like a flow chart. Here you go. Boom, boom, boom.
So if we were to take a look at the actual application then, which begins on, well, the red line begins on page 153, but I'm not suggesting we look at that one. I'm suggesting we look at the clean copy, which would then be on packet page
And these don't actually match each other. 153 and then the clean copy page do not match each other.
What do you have the clean copy page number?
Yeah,
I'm not there
167.
yet.
167, okay.
167.
Oh, you just know it doesn't.
So.
For instance, there's no signature line. So where on 153, you've got that signature line, right? Certifying professional, certifying professional, I certify the above named, certifying professional's printed name. I mean, it's not redlined out on here. So that's part of the healthcare provider role
It's on page
document.
169.
Yeah, I think when you go from a red line to a hard, things change.
But you said 167.
That's where
Okay,
the red line began. And I'm saying that we should go to the clean copy. So the only thing that we would be checking on is the fact that we have a signature on page 169 and a date. License number. We could even get rid of state and expiration date. I don't need to know that they're specialized in anything. That was just a flow through from what Chris had recommended.
well, what needs to be allowed for under this certifying professional part is for the doctor to check a box that says they do have a qualifying disability, or to check a box that they don't have a qualifying disability. That makes it absolutely clear what the doctor's findings are. They either do, you check this box, or they don't, and you check this box. Because that way, no one is making any kind of determination here of anything about the qualifying disability. So you have to give the doctor the choice of saying they don't have a qualifying disability, because that very well could be the case.
So
So-
under the bold section here, just answering her question.
I know, but I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
I'm out of time.
Okay.
It's gonna take me all of a half an hour to get into Traverse City. My concerns, first time around, second time around, now this third time around, is that the doctor understands what he's saying. Yes, this disability is, it qualifies under the ADA. That's my only concern. You're not to a vote, so I can't vote, but I will tell you, I will vote to send this to the attorney. And I'm sorry, I have to go get my millage rates.
Go get them. So
Thank you,
Cheryl,
Donna.
to address your box on page 169, right above the certifying professional signature, says, I certify the above named person has, for the purpose of remote participation in a public meeting, a qualifying disability under ADA.
There's your
And
box.
then adds it. So if the person doesn't have
He's not gonna sign
that
it.
qualifications, he or she better not sign it.
Well, then how will we hear from the physician then?
This
They
document,
just don't send it?
yeah,
Yeah,
If they
just give
don't,
them the
so you're
document.
saying that if the physician doesn't send in this document,
it's gonna be provided to you by the applicant, whoever is applying.
no, it needs to come right from the doctor to the township. It really does.
No, it doesn't.
Well, okay, I have a disagreement on that then. It needs to come straight from the doctor's office, not given to a patient.
We won't do that. We won't do that.
Oh,
Cheryl.
please, oh, please. I've worked in the medical field.
Oh, okay. It's
You know,
confidentiality.
the
How long ago was
doctors, it wasn't that long ago, actually. Doctors do provide that kind of thing. And I just think rather than wonder, has the doctor not gotten to it yet? Because doctors are very busy. Okay, if the doctor hasn't got to it in 30 days, are we to assume that there is no
That's not how it's
qualifying
done, though.
disability?
Right.
I think the document needs to be, the doctor needs to have the choice so that we do get something back to document and that they have the choice. Because there may not be a qualifying disability. And then the doctor is also certifying that there is no qualifying disability, because the accommodation doesn't come into effect unless there's a qualifying disability.
I hear you, but I'm missing something totally disconnected on the other side of the room from. So I go to the doctor and I tell him I explain what I want. He's familiar with, or she's familiar with ADA, looks and goes, Don, I'm sorry, man, you don't. I can't sign this.
tell
You
you
know,
right
thanks
then.
for coming in.
Yeah.
It's $75 copay, move on out. So I go in and the doctor says, okay, you do, I'll find. Okay, it's a short form. Doctor, I need to fill this out because I have to take in the original hard copy with a wet signature. And I need to hand deliver that to my township clerk. And so the doctor, and the doctor's, sure the doctor's going to say, fine, he'll make a copy for his or her records. And so if it comes in and I hand that to you, if your concern is that I fraudulently or did something to alter that document, that would certainly be on me and every penalty and consequence that comes with it. I think that there's, maybe there should be a modicum of trust between the board members that I'm bringing in. everything.
And ergo, back to my original point.
Okay.
Township clerk will be removed from the document. I'm not going to be responsible for getting a document and also not getting a document. I'm not going to be responsible
Okay,
for
time
that.
out on
Okay.
field. I just went through
Excuse me,
this,
Heidi,
Cheryl.
I'll let you know when I'm done. Okay,
Okay.
please don't interrupt
I
any
call
board
for a
member.
vote. I call
Okay,
for
hold
a
on.
vote.
hold on.
So I'm just telling you that I prefer under the way.
It's 12:04. I'm calling
Excuse-
for a vote.
No.
It doesn't matter, Cheryl, we're past our 3 hours. You could talk about this for the next 10 years.
You should look up call the question, Heidi. It doesn't call for an immediate vote by the board. So anyways, as I was saying before I was interrupted, I will not be the person responsible for receiving a document and also for not receiving a document. Somebody else, there's other board members, they can step up and do it.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I hear you. I
Yeah,
hear you. So
that's
we're
all I'm
back.
saying.
We're back to potentially the original intent of the language. May I please? just
I think
finish
we're
this?
going through the comments. I was asked to give my comments. I'm giving my comments. We can all vote. I want to finish my comments. I have several more, and then we can take a vote on this.
I would
I'm
just like
just
to,
telling you what my comments are.
I would just like to suggest that maybe we go back to what we started down the path. Ron, as a supervisor, if we now have the intent of what it is, taking that form and just knowing it's complete and it's signed, and then passing it to the clerk to file in the personnel record doesn't seem to be a stretch of anybody's responsibility, other than if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to do that, and she's willing to accept that, then just to be in your role in that is to keep it in the personnel file, then why can't we just rework that language to follow that process? I don't know that there needs to be an appeal process, so to speak, because if somebody if I brought it into you, Ron, and it didn't have the medical license on it, you should kick that back to me and say, I can't accept it, it's incomplete. And there's really no appeal process. Either get it right or you don't get it in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're either, the doctor either says they're qualified under this scenario that I'm understanding that you want to have happen. We're either going to get a letter or we're not going to get a letter. The clerk's only role, which the accommodation is already in place. Remote participation, that accommodation is already in place.
No, it's not.
We have plenty of people. What is your definition of remote participation?
This is strictly for a board member. We are not dealing with anybody in the public.
I'm not talking about the public. I'm talking about that the board member will use the same accommodation that's offered to the public,
You mean the same technology,
the same technology
has nothing to do with accommodation.
that's offered to the public. Well, that's what the thing is, that we have to give them this accommodation that they don't have to be here. So all I'm saying is, because where it says, after I said take out township clerk, yes, I said also that, this is on page 144. My whole comment on that was remove township clerk from the third to the last sentence, and the second to the last sentence, substitute with whatever the board decides. Also, the third to the last sentence does not make sense due to having two verbs. So that's my comment on page 144. So moving to my comments on page 145, top of the page, first line there, please remove township clerk from the sentence. My second comment on that
Hold on,
page.
Hold on. So you want to remove township clerk? Okay,
From the entire document, actually, from the entire document, other than to say that I will file this thing in the personnel file. Because on the previous page, you've got, if an accommodation request is denied by the township clerk, I'm not going to be in the position of approving or denying the request. Someone else is going to need to do that. I'm not going to take on that responsibility. And I said that a meeting or two ago. So anyways, are you ready for my next comment?
sure.
Okay, so my next comment is on page 145 in the second paragraph. And you have the yellow thing that that I wanted a time frame established. Here's my comment. I'm not looking for a bunch of debate. My opinion is that some type of quote renewal process of the qualifying disability designation should be put into this policy. That's my opinion. I don't want to see a situation come up where somebody really doesn't have the qualifying disability anymore, but yet they're still not at the meetings. So I think we need to avoid that. I mean, it could be a 6-month thing. Probably should be about a 6-month thing. This is my opinion. My next comment is on page 146. And that comment is down under the public comment paragraph. Public comment should be limited to 3 minutes. I'm thinking that's something that the board needs to go to anyways. Most other townships do not have 5-minute public comment periods.
What paragraph is this?
Public comment paragraph on page 146.
What's the number?
A 3, looks like a red 3. But that's also a general policy that should be changed. On 148, under breach of peace paragraph, I have highlighted the text, provided that no specific rules by order of the public body are not needed. My comment there, that doesn't make sense. On page 150, I have numerous
So-
comments on this page.
We should either talk about that or we should call the meeting because we've now exceeded our 3 hours. So I'm fine with just bringing the rest of these business items back next month.
Well, here's an idea. You open for some creativity? Ron,
Sure.
how about we have a meeting next Tuesday night? Or Tuesday during the day, you pick. Why do we have to wait for all this stuff to go another 30 days? Why not just have another meeting next Tuesday? Or Tuesday night, pick.
Well, Della's not here to say whether she's even available or not, so I don't think we should set a meeting without her.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
I don't know
We-
whether,
we still
whether
have
I'm
a quorum of
available
the board,
either.
Cheryl.
Huh?
We still have a quorum of the board. So we
Oh.
can still conduct business.
I'm,
And if the
ju-
business
oh, I,
is to postpone, then the business is to postpone.
well, then whoever wants to make a motion, make your motion.
I am collecting paint drop-offs for hazardous household. Oh, no, let's see, that is on the 23rd, actually. So I am open next Tuesday. including-
21st, summer begins.
Including in the evening.
I'm open too. All right, you guys. Hey, how about you, Lois? Are you open? Or
I will
Tuesday
be.
during the day?
I'm only open
So I-
for a morning meeting.
So if I have,
Okay, so there'll be 3 of us then at the meeting potentially. Still a quorum. Want to make a motion, Heidi?
I'll make the motion that we finish the rest of this business meeting on the 21st at 0900.
So that would be 9 AM.
Yep.
On the 21st of
On the
what?
21st of June, 2022.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett, Goss,
No.
Vamus,
Yes.
Motion passes. So we will start out in Zoom land with any public comment.
are we gonna close that last motion?
On the electronic.
Don't. Board voted to not continue. So the motion is still open on that meeting.
The only
or
other
on
thing,
that
the only
motion.
other problem we got is the marijuana stuff, but that's the 21st. You gotta do something about the marijuana because of the 18th, so maybe we need a special meeting somewhere. Because of the permits, applications. So should we put a special meeting for? Take care of that? Or vote right now? You pick.
So you're amending the motion to what, Heidi?
That motion's already been voted on.
That motion's been
Okay, if there's
voted
gonna
on.
be a new
Okay.
motion, there can be a new motion.
We'll get a new motion here, Cheryl. Hang on. Hmm. You guys want to have a special meeting tomorrow morning and take care of that little discrepancy and then we'll be done? What do you think? It'd take about an hour, half hour? But Cheryl has to post it, right? She has to post the meeting.
Has to be at least 18 hours notice.
Thinking about your thoughts or the spirit of where I think you're at, what would happen if your motion talked about just handling certain business items that are left? So
Is there anything else besides that that's that pressing? That was the only one I remember seeing a deadline on.
well, I think that we should be approving the Michigan participating plan. I
And the
can't
survey
believe,
too, because the survey's got to go out.
I can't believe that we've never approved $30,000 payment at the board level before.
Never.
Um,
And I haven't looked, that might require a budget amendment too. That's quite a steep, did we plan for that in the budget?
I don't recall,
premium?
Cheryl. I don't recall.
We'd have to look at the budget.
Yep. The Tobit audit, we've got a couple of months on that yet.
No, we do not have
It
a
has to
couple of,
be- It has to be completed within 6 months of the end of our fiscal year, which is
okay,
March 31st.
okay, yes. And the F-65 has to be filed with the state by September 30th. And the audit, we've already scheduled the audit. They're going to come in and do the audit. Yes, because their summer is booked. So we have to get the audit done.
Well,
It's,
unless the board approves it.
Well, we're
you
not
know,
going
this
to,
seems to be a
we're not
reoccurring
going to
problem.
flout the law about
Okay, so
getting an
she needs
audit done. They
18
need,
hours.
they need to
So are
have
we
a
gonna
couple
continue the
months.
moving the meeting, or what are we gonna do here? Because obviously, you know, we're either gonna accept marijuana
Right,
applications.
applications or we're not.
Maybe we have to continue the meeting.
Well, the motion was that we finish the rest of this business meeting on the 21st of June at 9 AM. And that motion passed.
Okay, so we call for, you said 18 hours, we call for a special meeting. Can we do a special meeting tomorrow night? That would be 18 hours. Cover 3
18 hours is
business.
6 a.m.
Right, so cover 6, either do it
Six-
tomorrow
I mean, it
morning or
covers-
tomorrow
yeah.
afternoon.
You're 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Right, so what you want to do, afternoon or morning? Morning, afternoon, or evening? And let's just finish those 3 business items that we really have to do and then forward the rest to the 21st.
Well, that's your opinion that those are the only business items that need to be addressed. They all need to be addressed. And we have already had a motion by Volumuth that we finish the rest of this business meeting on the 21st of June at 9 AM. That was the wording, the exact wording of the motion.
Okay, Cheryl, so I'll do a special meeting now. I'll call for a special meeting at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to cover the last 3 business items that we need to cover and push the remainder to the 21st.
I'm not available for a meeting tomorrow morning.
Well, we have 3 people.
What about if we just handle the rest of the business items tomorrow instead of moving it to the 21st?
Could
What
do
happens
that
if we
too.
just-
Whatever, that works too. It's just that sitting here over and over again for more than 3 hours, I'm not
So
doing
is that
it.
the 15th?
Yes.
Yep,
I am open primarily in the morning.
it doesn't matter for me.
What is the motion item?
I move that we push the rest of the business items to tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And I don't know what to do about the other motion. You gotta guide me there. I'll move that we finish the meeting tomorrow at between 9 o'clock and no later than 12, or push the rest till the
I'm sorry, what
21st.
was that? That we finish the meeting
Can
tomorrow?
we do that, Ron? Or what if we go more than 3 hours tomorrow? That's ridiculous. All right, Cheryl, what do you got for a motion?
I need you to tell me what the motion you have
Yep,
is.
Lois.
I have motion to push the rest of the business items to June 15 at 9 AM.
And how about anything we don't finish on the 15th moves to the 21st? How's that? Then we're covered. If you want to get up and walk out after 2 hours tomorrow, you could do that. Because everything else would be going to the 21st, where I moved it the first place. You tell me. either have to shorten our agendas or have 3 meetings.
I would be very supportive of just moving the business that is left undone here today to tomorrow.
Okay, what
And
about
then
with
if
the
it doesn't
motion I
get
made
done
on the-
tomorrow, then we address it tomorrow. at-
Okay, and what about the motion I made on the 21st? Take that back?
I don't
Or make a
know.
new motion?
I don't know if in Robert's Rules of Order, how to do that, but at any rate, if a motion would have a earlier date,
Then the other one goes away.
then I would think there was no reason to hold the meeting on the 21st.
Okay, then let's do that. I move to move all our business items, what's left right now, to the 15th.
You have to, if you're gonna make motions on the fly, you have to
Go
speak
slowly.
slowly so
Okay,
that the
I
recording
move-
secretary can get it.
That's fine. I move the rest of the items on the business agenda under, we have still one in old business, right?
To
There's one in old
motion to
business?
move the rest of the,
1 second. Are we done with unfinished business or not?
No.
Okay,
So
unfinished, one unfinished business item and the rest of the new business items to the meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock, June 15th, 2022.
Please restate that. That was not a smooth flowing motion. That's gonna have to be restated.
Go for it, dude.
May I
You-
assist?
You go for it.
May I assist?
You may assist. Go for it.
So would you consider moving unfinished business number 2 and all of new business except for number 9, high prey locks, which we've
Which we
already
did,
accomplished,
okay.
to June 15th at 0900,
2022.
2022.
You got it.
Would you consider that?
I'll consider that.
motion to approve unfinished business number 2 and all of new business except number 9 that has been addressed by Valmuth.
Motion to approve.
No,
Actually,
it
that
says
what was
motion
said?
to move unfinished
yeah,
business.
motion to move. I think that's right. Are we having 2 minutes taken here?
Yeah, apparently we are. I just noticed that too. a while ago.
I don't even know what the motion is.
Clarity, could we just add that those agenda items just. June 14th, 2022 board meeting, just so there's.
There you go.
Good idea. Making it very clear.
Yes.
So how do you want that worded, John?
Go ahead and read the motion back,
I can,
please.
and I'll pop in on you.
Motion to move. Motion to move unfinished business number 2 and all of new business except number 9 of the June 14 meeting.
June 14th, yeah, 2022 Board of Trustee meeting,
Board what meeting?
Board of Trustees meeting.
Whitewater Township Board meeting.
Okay, thank you. To Wednesday, June 15th, 2022, beginning at 9 a.m.
Who's making that motion?
I am. How's that? So now you want me to read that whole thing? Okay. Lois, can you read it back to me, please?
Yep, my thing just expanded so much I can't read anything. There we go. Read it. Motion to move unfinished business number 2 and all of new business except number 9.
Of the
That-
614.
She's reading the motion, Cheryl, not you.
I can assist anytime I want, please.
Except number 9, that has been addressed
You got public
of the
comments
June
coming. Hang
14,
on, guys.
2022 Whitewater Township Board Meeting to June 15, 2022 at 9 a.m. No, that's right. I put that in twice.
It's only 1, 2, right?
Correct. Stop.
There you have it.
Which is by Volmuth.
Yep.
I second. For discussion. Cheryl, 18 hours, got a half an hour to post the 18-hour notice window. Are you able to do that?
If this meeting ends, but how are we gonna get, we've got to have public comment. Okay, you've got to have the second public comment. That's part of our agenda. So I don't see that happening.
How many minutes does she got? 40?
I've got 32.
That's ridiculous.
Want to go to 10 o'clock? That gives
Well, I
her an
haven't had
hour.
lunch either, if you want to get technical. So,
None of us have, Cheryl.
yeah, well, I get it, but if we're gonna be done with the meeting, then we'll take our lunch, won't we?
So do we go to 10 o'clock so she can have lunch? Or can somebody else do it besides the clerk?
The clerk has requested, and I believe is a statutory duty of the clerk's office to provide the notices. So if it was a direction of the board for the clerk to do that,
The board doesn't give the clerk that kind of direction. The notice has to be posted more than 18 hours before the meeting. If I got out of the meeting with enough time to post it before 18 hours, I will, and if I don't, it will not be a legal meeting.
so let's do 7 PM.
So.
Yep, there you go.
For me?
And
All
I'm
right,
not,
Lois, I got
and I'm not
other-
available at 7 PM, but I'm sure you don't care, but I'm not available then.
Lois, I need to amend my motion to change 9 o'clock to 7 PM. And could you read me back the motion?
I'm not sure I caught your last statement, Heidi.
About moving the meeting from
Changing the time.
changing the time? Don't we have to change the time on the motion?
Yeah, but then
Okay.
I thought I heard you say something after that and I wasn't clear on what you said.
I asked her to read the motion back to me.
Oh, okay, all right.
I have motion to move unfinished business number 2 and all of new business except number 9 that has been addressed of the June 14, 2022 Whitewater Township Board Meeting to June 15, 2022 at 9 a.m. Meeting by 9 a.m. by Volmuth, second by Glenn. Volmuth amended the motion from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Second the amended motion.
Good. Get a call for a vote.
We'll call them, right?
Bennett, not available. Volmuth,
Yes.
Hop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss.
No,
Motion passes. So for those of you still with us out in Zoom land, if you would like to make a comment, can you please raise your hand? That'll be a function down towards the bottom of the screen. If you just move your cursor towards the bottom of the screen, you might have a toolbar that illuminates with raise your hand in it. And so I'll give you a few minutes to do that. Meanwhile, we'll take public comment here in the Township Hall. Thank you. So we'll be right back. Any public comment in the Township Hall?
Vicky Beam on Bags Road. I started out with a public comment about working together, and I think today was probably the worst meeting I've ever sat through. I would be fired if I showed up and did a meeting like this. I'm appalled. It just keeps going. I really don't know what the infighting is about, but things have got to change. The locks for the bathroom, you all passed it, but that price seemed high. Ardella came back and said she was being fiscally responsible when it came to brush removal. I'm not sure if we were fiscally responsible on locks for the bathroom. Please start being fiscally responsible for everything. I would love to know who is going to be looking for grants to clean up the remaining area. I know that there have been groups that have come forward before, and information has been brought forward to the clerk's office about grant writing. Nothing has happened. So I'll be curious to see if this continues going forward. As far as board meetings, I'm so glad there's going to be one tomorrow night at 7, because a little over a year ago, the board meetings were moved till 9 a.m. and it was supposed to be a trial, and it hasn't been addressed again. I think we need to get back to the board meetings in the evening so that more members of the township can participate. Because of everything that's going on, I have made sure that I've cleared my schedule so that I can be here, but it is definitely a hardship on myself and my business to be here during the day. And I know a lot of people have commented that they would like to be in attendance. I've also had a lot of people come up and talk to me about the fact that our township needs help. And I really would like to have a town hall meeting in some way put together so that more people can be involved and that we can start finding people that are wanting to volunteer. Rural, the definition relating to or characteristic of the countryside rather than the town. Again, every chance that I have, I want to talk about Bags Road. It is not just Bags Road. It is our rural characteristic as a township. Bags Road is just the beginning. There will be no going back. We do not have a valid site condo in our ordinances. There's about 2 paragraphs. As a result, township has procedurally messed up. And when there's a lack of solid standalone, as we have, that development should be treated as a PUD. And our zoning administrator is wrong. I implore you to start working together. Cheryl, I've mentioned this time and time again. This is not the Cheryl show, it's the township, and everybody should be working together. Every time that I come up here, I am never really looked at by you. I'm certainly looked at by everybody else that is here. And I guess I also have the question of why there have been so many people taking notes. I guess that would be my other question to come up with. Where are we compensating for this, and why are there double notes being taken? I thank you all for your time. Please, we have got to work together. This cannot continue. It is appalling. And I have to say, I am so glad that a television channel is on watching this meeting today. I cannot wait to see what's going to be on the news this evening.
Anyone else in the Township Hall that would like to make a comment?
You better believe it. First, I'm going to give a couple of definitions here in case you don't know. Team is defined as a group of people who perform independent tasks to work towards accomplishing a common mission. That's what you guys were elected for. To work as a team to accomplish a mission. There's no I in team. I can't believe I have to say that. That's something you usually say to kids, but town hall meeting. We need a town hall meeting. Obviously, we are still being played on deaf ears. How many times do we have to say we need a team? It's not being heard. And you better believe I am mad. I am angry. You can define me as angry because nothing is getting resolved. Thank you, Heidi, for not waiting another month and suggesting a meeting tomorrow. We cannot keep pushing this off and off and off. We need to start utilizing our resources. Randy Melnick, very knowledgeable, would be very beneficial. We need to utilize him. He may be smarter than some of us, but that's an asset. It's not a curse. Amber Voice, if she can help and she can not be a conflict of interest, which I really don't see where there would be a conflict if she's helping, then we need to do that. You have many of us that have come to many of these meetings and have offered our help. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard, can you help with something? Can you give input on this? We constantly give input. We're not hearing back. Teamwork. And we need a town hall meeting. I want to know that when I say something to each of you, that it's being heard, and I want an answer. I am tired of talking and talking and talking and not getting a response. Baggs Road was my priority, but you know what? The township is the priority, not me. The township as a whole. I could be on the board and say, you know what? I've got acreage. I don't have to worry about marijuana, but you know what? I worry about marijuana because it affects my neighbors. I know I'm not going to have to smell it. I know I'm not going to have a facility next to me, but you know what? A good human would worry about the neighbor as well. I don't want my neighbor to have to live with something that's unpleasant if it can be avoided. And the attitude of, well, we'll probably just go to court has got to stop. As I said earlier, it's our money, not your money. It's the township's money. The township needs to start spending its money wisely, not just throwing it away with the attitude that, well, we'll just go to court. No big deal. Let's see you start doing that in your own lives. Then let's see how quick you move. We need to be consistent. If we're going to have a cancellation on a meeting, then we need to cancel it whenever it's canceled, not just once in a while, not whenever we get time to it. You are hired officials. You're elected officials. You have a job to do. All of you, as a team. I don't understand. In the beginning of the meeting, I was really kind of, to be honest with you, kind of impressed. I thought, wow, maybe things were heard, because I did see some more compassion amongst each other. But the way this meeting ended is appalling, absolutely appalling. I would like to know from someone when we will have a town meeting scheduled. Because I'll tell you what, you've poked the bear and the bear is not going away. And the bear is talking and the bear is getting the word out. The township is waking up. It's not just the 5 of you sitting here anymore. The word is getting out. Please start working with us. Please start listening to us. That's what we ask. That's what we were elected for. And I'll leave with one final question. Who's here that really wants to be here? How many of you are actually here that actually want to be here, that want to work for the township? Because if that's not your interest, then it's time to move on. Thank you.
Well, I changed my closing statement. Connie Highmore, Baggs Road. At the beginning of the meeting, in a public comment by someone else, they stated, "We the people." The first 3 words of the Constitution are the most powerful. We the people. They declare that the Constitution derives its power not from a king or a Congress, but from the people themselves. We the people also exists in Whitewater Township. We are taxpayers, landowners, residents of the land in Whitewater Township. We care about the place we dwell in. Please stop the division within these walls. This is ridiculous. It's childish and unacceptable. We, the people, demand to be heard. We don't want to be ridiculed, laughed at, made fun of, and railroaded by people with big microphones. It needs to stop. We, the people.
Okay, we're in Zoom land. Thank you. Linda Slopesma, I see your hand is up.
Yes, just very quickly, I want to thank the board members for being willing to reconvene tomorrow at 7 p.m. I appreciate that you're not just pushing stuff off and that you'll come in and take care of business and more people will be able to attend. So thank you.
I don't see any other hands up. And so we will move to I guess adjournment, motion to
What about
adjourn.
board comments? We're not doing that?
Well, you know, we already went by that portion, but sure, board comments and discussion.
Oh, no, let's not take any more time. Let's go. I move to adjourn.
Are you sure? Any board comments or discussion? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Oh, okay. I make a motion to adjourn at 12:43.
I thought Val had made the motion.
Yeah, I did, Ron, sorry.
Okay.
Second Heidi's motion to adjourn.
Excellent. Motion made in discussion. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett, not available. Vamos,
Yes.
Goss,
No.
Glenn.
Yes.
Motion passes.